subscribe to my sister's channel. She will also voice her favorite plots. Let's give her a big asset. Hello to all lovers of lemon scenes. I invite you all to my boosty so you can watch your favorite Naruto what if stories in complete comfort. A subscription to Naruto Lemon costs $1.04. The first video with a full lemon is already on my boosty channel. Dare! Rain, small drops of rain slowly fell on me and trickled down my pale face. And I lay motionless with a strange half-smile on my face. A puddle of crimson blood forms under me, which is immediately washed away by the rain. But I was still alive while I was alive. The consciousness did not want to fade away, and the eyes were still looking at the sky. At such a moment, the moment before death, strange thoughts were born in me. Thoughts were mixed with different memories. Some were bright and cheerful, some were sad and terribly sad. There are many stories and fairy tales where the end is always a happy ending. The main character is happy, he overcame all the problems that were on his way, coped with all the difficulties that blocked his way. Even when everything was lost, he found hope, he did not give up and walked forward with his head held high. And in the end, he was waiting for the very reward to which he had been working so hard for so long, but back to the real world, where everything is more complicated than in books. If the fate of the hero is decided by the author there, then it's a little bit different here. In my case, this so-called fate broke down immediately after my birth. I'll start with my name. Andrei Novikov. The only child in the hands of parents, but after all this, it's hard for me to call them parents, a tyrant father beating his child and wife, a mother who took too much alcohol. I know it's not uncommon for a child to be born in such a family. And I was among them, but I never meant them any harm, because they gave me life. That's what I thought at first that I was born and grew up. If I didn't remember the first 2 years of my life, I remembered what happened next for the rest of my life. This can be called a childhood trauma, an early broken psyche, etc. Drunkenness, father's assault, and just a lousy childhood in one word, because I somehow don't want to describe all this in detail. But, oddly enough, I grew up quite a healthy boy and went to school at the age of 7. However, nothing has changed from this. The children constantly avoided me because of my slightly non-standard appearance, bruises under the eyes, a slightly repulsive face and, in addition, my breakdowns, because of which they began to avoid me. Teachers were scolded for poor academic performance, which is not surprising, because every fucking night is a drunkenness, screaming parents, and all sorts of other crap. Several years pass, my father dies under unknown circumstances, there was a funeral, and I looked at his coffin for a long time. I didn't have any warm feelings or love for him at that time. After his death, it became somehow easier for me. It must be terrible, your own father died, and instead of tears you just breathe freely, realizing that maybe everything will go a little better from now on, but, nothing has changed. Now, instead of my father, there were different mothers' boyfriends, each of whom would definitely beat me or insult me. And then they get drunk all night and do whatever they want. I just tried not to pay attention to it, I just wanted to forget about it and decided to take myself seriously. To study, just to study, completely immersed in my studies, I gave up on everything for a while. And another evening, I come back from school and see the corpse of the hanged mother. When I saw this picture, I just stood still. There were no tears, my soul didn't hurt, nothing, absolutely nothing but emptiness. It seemed to me that I had simply gone mad. After that, my mother's sister took me to her. Yes, there were no changes. Although she was not such a drunkard as Mom, her character was similar to her father's, she constantly beat and scolded for every little thing, and I still did not expect love from her side, I was nothing and nothing there. But, I was still grateful to them. Having finished school well, I entered the university. My efforts were finally rewarded, and I entered the grant. At that moment I was over the moon with happiness, because now I knew that I could change my future and destiny. As the years passed, I made progress and even managed to find some good friends. I couldn't even believe it. After graduating from the institute, I opened a considerable business together with my very good friend. And together we were able to raise the business and started making good money. Then I met her, the one I was able to fall in love with, the one I wanted to marry soon. At that moment, I was able to forget almost all the horror of my childhood, where I was the only one. I was able to forget the tyranny of my parents. I was able to forgive them, albeit partially, but it's true they said that the nightmare does not end so quickly. My best friend, so I thought, the man who became a support for me and just the one who was able to pull me into the light, threw me out, got rid of me, considering me an obstacle. One day, 2 masked men grabbed me and knocked me out. I woke up in some unknown place and the first thing I could see was a grin, an impudent grin that stood on my friend's face. Who knew that your savior would be the one who would destroy you in the end? I didn't say a word, but just looked at him blankly before I felt a terrible pain in my chest, and now I'm lying bleeding, remembering all these moments and smiling stupidly. I wanted to shout, for what? Why me? But a lump in my throat and fading consciousness did not allow me to do it. Now I'm angry as hell, but not at my abusers, but at myself, a weak, stupid and gullible idiot who was taken advantage of and thrown away. Damn, but I still didn't have time to tell her those most cherished words, my only and beloved, so this is my destiny? And you can't argue, it was already broken from the very beginning. Do you want to start a new life? In case of an agreement, your soul will be restored and renewed. Your essence will be tied to the gamer system. Yes/no, I seem to have completely lost my mind if I see this, even after death. But I'm worried about something else. Why can I still think, and my consciousness has not faded away? Nonsense, is this really nonsense, a new life? Will my soul be restored? Yes, and what do I have to lose? If this is the delusional fruit of my dying consciousness, then so be it. Yes, my voice echoes through the dark space where I was, and now another of the same mud is coming out. Removing all possible restrictions is a mistake. Reason, there are no restrictions. Soul restoration and renewal is fully completed. Status check is completed. The condition is within normal limits, no. 1 critical deviation detected. Knowledge and memory scanning completed. Database generation completed. To continue, click Next. It's funny, it's really funny. Well, once I've started, I'll continue. I think it won't last long. A game? Everything that comes to my mind, looking at all this. And if I make a choice? What will happen then? Will my soul be restored and I will live again? No, it's impossible. Someone is mocking me, or what else do you mean? Since that's the case, why not continue? And I still wonder what it will lead to. Choose a world to hit, attention. The world is selected automatically. Warning, most further actions will be done by the system itself. Information about the world where you will be reborn will be studied by you after birth. Have a good game. I don't have time to understand anything, as I fall into homeless darkness again. Maybe now my soul will calm down. It hurt. That is, at first there was nothing at all. I even realized myself with categorical difficulty. But then it became unbearable. My body ached, which is strange, and it felt as if all my insides were twisted. I don't consciously open my eyes and see. I see a white ceiling. My breathing becomes heavier, and I begin to hear a strange squeak that lasted about 3 minutes. But as soon as I calmed down, this annoying sound stopped. So, what the fuck? Why am I still breathing? Why do I feel my body? And finally, what is this bright red inscription? Death is not the end. Death is only the beginning of your journey. Follow this path to the end and survive. That is, I did die, but I died so that I was alive again. The death of a hitman. You are dead. And hit. The chance that you will die again and get plus 25%, in theory, should be at a loss and even in some kind of shock, but instead I am calm, no emotions, nothing but calm. Have my nerves given up on all this? Attention. Received information about the world where you are. Explore? Yes/no, damn, not up to it, attention. The memories of the past body have been obtained. Is there another one? Calm down, mortal. You survived, and you didn't go crazy. Just pull yourself together and calm down. I'll explain everything to you now. Somehow, even after these words, I didn't feel any better. Although my emotions don't show it either. And now say the word, status. I repeat, you are not crazy, so do what they say. Good, status. I said. A column of information appeared in front of me. Name, Naruto Namikaze, Uzumaki, race, human age, 6 years HP, 450 chakra, 450/450 chakra control, 0 level, 7, 1789/4500, class, unavailable, level 15, power, 8.5 speed, 7 endurance, 14 intelligence, 23 additional chakra source, 1. Plus 1 million blocked. Well, now say inventory. Inventory, there was just an empty window and that's it. Inventory is needed for storing things, say the skills. Skills, active, missing. Passive, player, full access, player's body, player's mind, player's spirit, Uzumaki blood, Fuinzutsu learning speed plus 60%. Control pumping speed plus 25%. Jinchuriki Kubi, no Yoko, huge stamina, a huge amount of chakra and affinity with the element of fire, Namikaze blood, control pumping speed plus 15%. You can learn your father's techniques. Well, now I advise you to study the information that is now available to you. It will be described in more detail there, and for this I am retiring at that moment. A voice broke off in my head, and that inscription with information appeared before my eyes again. If it helps me to find out everything in more detail, there was a dead silence in the 10th ward. A small blonde man of 5 or 6 years old was lying on snow-white sheets. The head and left arm are tightly wrapped in bandages. A huge number of life support devices are connected to the fragile body. The boy himself lay motionless, looking with his bright blue eyes at the white ceiling and was carefully thinking about something. Who would have known that someday I would get into such an ass? The boy said in a very serious tone, breathing heavily. In general, after studying, I had to roll on the floor in hysterics and laugh non-stop. Yes, only the newly acquired mind of the player gives me the opportunity not to go crazy from all this in the end. A kind of world in which the era of ninjas, shinobi, samurai, etc. flourishes. There is something here that is called a chakra. My God, so much information overwhelms my poor head. But now it will be easier to navigate. After all, as I understand it, this world is still full of all sorts of surprises, so, I've been alive again for one day, only in another world. I would like to study it in more detail and, so to speak, taste everything myself, but a terribly aching body and pain at the navel level does not allow me to do this. I even tried to at least take a sitting position, but it would be better not to do it, as I almost vomited my guts. That's terrible. Somehow, the next day I could more or less at least sit, but the feeling of discomfort still did not leave me. Also, as I understood, a doctor came to me in the morning and, muttering something and checking the life support device, immediately left. And I stared after him uncomprehendingly. It's weird, though. Then a young nurse visited me, injected something into the fore, while looking at me irritably and leaving a tray with food, or what kind of grey stuff is this? But I will believe that this is a local porridge. Ahem. So, having finished with her work and finally giving me a slightly hateful look, she left my room, slamming the door loudly. What the fuck? Is my face weird or what? It doesn't matter, for me now the most important thing is to heal as soon as possible. The days were boring, slow, and I was already a little sick of lying still. Spitting on the hellish pain and pulling out everything that was stuck in my body, I stood up to my full height as carefully as possible. The first steps go well, and I don't fall to the floor like a disabled person. A couple more steps, it looks like I can move, although it's quite problematic, but most importantly I can. So, the mirror is at the end of the room. I need to look at my appearance, otherwise I don't really know anything new about myself except for my first and last name. However, hello, a blonde with blue eyes and strange 3 stripes on both cheeks. Well, I certainly didn't expect this, but I'll take what they gave me. Strange, for my age, I look a little like a corpse. Bruises under the eyes, a thin face. In general, I look like that. They don't let me admire myself for a long time. When the door to my ward opens with a creaking sound, and a tall young girl with unusual red hair enters the room, I would give her 15 or 16 years, no more and no less. And who is this lady? A new doctor? A nurse? Or someone the former owner of this carcass knew, Naruto? Slightly surprised and in a state of shock, this person quickly ran up to me and gently hugged me, muttering something incomprehensible and sobbing at the same time. And who are you? Namikaze, Uzumaki, Hana OJ, 4500/4500 OCH, 8900/8900 level, 33 rank, Hunin attitude towards you, strong attachment, and here's who you are, so this way I can find out information about people, how it happened with this girl. Very interesting and extremely unusual. As scheduled, a doctor comes into my room and, seeing this picture, is not surprised, but, to put it bluntly, he was very surprised. Hana-sama, wait. Having regained her serious look, the doctor frees me from the shackles of hugs and at a fast pace begins to say something to this girl and I, what, and I? I stood quietly and watched all this with an unperturbed look. But at the same second, the doctor, noticing that I was separated from the life support device, literally in a panic put me back in the bed and began to check me in a hurry, also simultaneously telling that girl to leave the ward. It seems to me alone that it smacks of some kind of unprofessionalism. Son, how do you feel? The man said, looking at me carefully. It's fine, I say automatically in a slightly quiet childish voice. For another 5 minutes, after examining me all over and making a standard check, he sighs freely with a smile on his face and says, very well, my boy. No, it's amazing. You were supposed to stay in the crib for another 2 months to fully recover, but you are already moving and walking freely. Now I will call your sister. Wait a bit, she will be glad to hear such good news. Having said these words, the man left the room. Hana-sama, his condition, oddly enough, has completely stabilized, and he can move independently, the man told in a very joyful tone, coming back into the room. Well, I learned a lot of new things again. First, I have almost recovered. Second, I have a sister who has not left me for the last 3 hours, telling me something violently, and third, I seem to have had such an injury that I would have had to be treated for a very long time after it. But, according to the doctor, in 2 weeks my condition has returned to the maximum norm. I should probably be glad that I won't spend the rest of my second new life in a hospital bed. That would be ironic if it turned out to be true, Naruto. Finally, coming out of my thoughts, I looked at my interlocutor, whom I stopped listening to 2 hours ago. She seems to have noticed it, yes. Not a muscle twitched on my face, and I stared at her intently, waiting for something. No, nothing, the girl smiled, laughing softly. I'm just sincerely glad that you healed so quickly, God. It looks like I need to smile at this moment and answer her in a warm version. I'm glad of it, too. It sounded rather dry and somewhat cold. Damn, I look like a corpse and behave like a corpse. Hannah's tears started to turn in her eyes, and she barely restrained herself from bursting into tears again. It looks like she has strong feelings for this carcass. Brother never changes. With these words, Hannah gently stroked me on the top of my head. I wonder what that would mean. A week passed and with grief in half I was finally discharged from the hospital. Hannah visited me every day and told me something joyfully every time, although I listened to her for only 3 minutes, and then I went deep into myself, thinking about something. Putting on new clean clothes, I left the room that bothered me. The attending physician said goodbye to me in a rather kind tone, while others looked at me with such a look that it was already creepy. But fortunately, after leaving the hospital, I was able to breathe in peace. The village of the Hidden Leaf is one of the greatest villages at the moment. The village is run by the 4th Hokage. He is also called Yellow Lightning Konoha and Minato Namikaze. He is also my own father and Hannah's father. It was unexpected when Hannah enthusiastically told some stories about him, which, to be honest, it was hard for me to believe. Walking through the village, I noticed that not only in the hospital people wanted to beat me to hell, in the village the same situation. The only thing holding them back was Hannah, a kind of human shield I have here. It seems that something that is sealed in me has annoyed them a lot, as I see it, and the monster is now seen in me. Yes, what kind of insanity, people? Although I have no right to say this, since I did not have to see what these people saw, when I reached the house of the Yondaime family, which I could safely call a huge mansion, a middle-aged woman in a wheelchair with the same red hair as Hannah came to meet us. As I understood it, the maid of the family slowly rolled the wheelchair in our direction. The woman, seeing me, burst into bitter tears and gently pressed me to her. This is probably the mother of the carcass and Hannah, although I may be mistaken, but she and Hannah are very similar, and my facial features resemble her, so I think she is still the mother of this carcass. But I'm blonde, what the fuck? Ugh, the so-called father also has yellow hair. It looks like he has slightly disfigured the genes. But red hair looks much funnier than yellow. Mom, don't cry, calm down. Naruto is almost completely cured and came cheerful. Hannah said happily in an attempt to cheer up the woman, and it helped. Kushina, that's her name according to the information received, quickly returned to normal and, already smiling, began to conduct some kind of dialogue with me. Although from the outside it is most similar to the communication of an adult with an imbecile child. Well, since the old owner was not distinguished by a joyful character, I'd better not go far from the role. Yes. Mom. Sister Hannah is right, Naruto said with a half-smile on his face, as if he had finally become alive. I am absolutely healthy and feel well. On this note Uzumaki abruptly stopped, noticing a slightly strange look of the maid on himself. I'm glad of this, my son. Once again giving the boy a gentle smile, the Namikaze family began to move towards a huge mansion with an equally huge courtyard. Aya-chan has prepared a festive dinner, you will like it, Hannah said, slapping her brother weakly on the back. I hope. The last words were said in a whisper, but still the younger Uzumaki still managed to hear them. I assure you, young master. You will definitely like it, added her 5 kopecks, a young maid with long dark hair. Finally, when I went home, I saw what I expected. Inside, everything was just as beautiful and rich, which is not surprising. After all, the Hokage family. So, summing up, it turned out quite a few facts. I am a half-breed, I have the genes of the Uzumaki clan and the genes of Namikaze. The first one is like a clan that was the strongest before, but it was destroyed, and all the representatives of this clan are now scattered all over the world, several of them are in Konoha. The second one is Namikaze. Well, it's hard to call it a clan, but the children of the Namikaze clan have always been famous for their high strength and speed. So, to put it bluntly, I am a hybrid of two strong clans, who has something inside that is called a kubi. Thanks to the player's mind, which allows me to always remain calm in such situations. Finally, when I went home, I saw what I expected. Inside, everything was just as beautiful and rich, which is not surprising. After all, the Hokage family. A long corridor, 2 doors on the right. At the end of the corridor there is a staircase to the upper floor. Various paintings and tueva of all sorts of stuff, not a house, but a whole museum. Damn, hey, little brother, come on, why are you frozen? Hana said, pushing Naruto weakly forward. Yes, I'm coming, the blonde man snorted, taking off his shoes and putting them in a special nightstand. It smells delicious, the boy whispered, walking towards the kitchen, from which this wonderful smell of only cooked food came. You are on time, young master, everything is ready. Sit down, the maid chirped with a kind smile. And at this moment, the blonde's stomach rumbled softly. Well, yes. I hope the food here will taste better than in that hospital, and that is, for 2 weeks in a row, some kind of porridge from horseradish. Understand what? It's not so good. Although why should I worry? One smell already tells me that now I will experience a lot of good things, Naruto thought to himself, sitting down on a comfortable chair. Behind him, the rest of the Namikaze family sat down at the table. And the food is delicious, really delicious. No, even more, it's amazing. I've never eaten anything like this. And it's a miracle, how am I so adept with these chopsticks at all? Okay, the main thing is that my stomach is dancing with joy. I see, Naruto, you missed home, cooked food, Hana said, seeing a half-smile on the face of her usually gloomy brother. You say obvious things, Hana, but I'm ready to eat an elephant, if only it wasn't that stuff from the hospital. Who would have known that the usual cooking of a maid would make me smile already? No, everything is fine with my emotions, well, partially, but until now, even Hana could not squeeze something out of me. And she tried, and many times, and each of them was cooler and more original than the previous one. After about 10 minutes, the lunch was successfully destroyed. Who would have known that my sister has such a brutal appetite? And guess who joined our group? That's right, Minato Namikaze, aka Hokage. He's my father. He's the fastest shinobi of our village, who managed to be late for his son's discharge. Well, in theory, it's forgivable, considering my past life, then it's a sin for me to complain now. It seems that the Hokage's work is actually quite a hemorrhoid. Come on, Grieffather, say something at least. And then I'm a little strained by your look, son, the head of the family spoke, smiling slightly. I am glad that you have finally been discharged, and you seem to have finally recovered, Minato continued in the same manner, carefully looking at his child. I hope you are ready for an early preparation, Minato, are you at it again? Kushina asked in a dissatisfied voice, looking askance at her husband. He just got home, and you already, I've already decided everything, Namikaze interrupted his wife without hesitation, looking at her menacingly. He's going to the academy soon. He needs at least some preparation, Minato said in a calm voice, crossing his arms. It's time after all, because he's the son of Hokage. On this note, Yondaime put a fat end to this dialogue and, quickly finishing his portion of food, immediately disappeared. Right, he simply disappeared in a yellow flash right in front of his family. This act slightly struck Naruto, but he, having regained his former appearance, thought about something of his own. Mds. I have a very ugly dad, well, fuck it. He was talking about rapid preparation and admission to the academy. I think I can already guess what all this is about. And according to the information received about this world, everything converges on one or two. Very soon I will be pushed into a local elementary school for future murderers, where various knowledge about the chakra, the world of shinobi, the will of fire, the service of the empire will be injected into my head, fu yu. That is, serving your village, people, and so on. Standard crap that all the larvae of local ninjas go through. I am no exception, which is not surprising. Reward for ingenuity, plus 2 units of intelligence. Reward for ingenuity, plus 2 units of intelligence. Oh. I've added intelligence to myself, it's fun. So, as expected, if you think logically and analyze everything more or less intelligently, then there will be additions to certain characteristics. In my case, I just increased my intelligence by 4 units. Ahem, let's continue. We also need to take into account the fact that I am now a player. It sounds like obvious nonsense, but there's nothing to be done, since I've been given a new life with this quirk, then why not use it? I would live a quiet, peaceful life, but, as they say, in a world where children are taught to kill from an early age, there is also a huge risk of wars and complete lawlessness, then you will not live here normally. It remains for me to play by the rules of this system, that is, to swing, to develop, to reach the final, where there will be either a happy ending or a repetition of my former fate. I stupidly have no other choice. Well, let's start. Many stars in the firmament twinkled brightly in the clear sky, without a single cloud. The full moon illuminated the earth with its weak light. Absolute silence was everywhere, no one dared to break it. Well, except for the enthusiastic cry of a young girl who was driving her brother across a huge field with ardent enthusiasm. Naruto, just don't fall. Last lap, come on. Hana said, patting the blonde man weakly on the back. In response, the boy only snorted with displeasure and continued to run. As if it makes me feel better, the boy thought to himself, sighing wearily, still it's not usual when you have to cut 50 circles without any rest stop. Sweat poured down like hail, my lungs were literally bursting from the inside, and my legs were barely holding on. However, all this is not very important, since young Namikaze, having overcome the last lap, fell to the ground without strength. Congratulations! Your stats have gone up another level. Strength, 13-inch, agility, 10, speed, 13, endurance, 19, intelligence, 25, wisdom, 23, so, it turned out to be quite difficult to raise the characteristics. Except for wisdom and intelligence. I improved them by analyzing and reflecting on various situations happening to me. It's quite easy to upgrade, since I raised it to such a level in a week. In general, everything is quite tolerable. In exactly 7 days, on behalf of Minato, Hana still managed to stir up her little brother. I still don't understand why she is the one. I don't doubt her skill, but after all, Hunin is the village's fighting unit, and instead of doing her duty, she's wasting her time here. But there are a lot of different teachers, and it's not difficult for Hokage to get them to teach his son, although, to hell with it, if he decided so, then he probably knew what he was doing. And to this day I do not cease to be surprised at such an ardent character of my sister. It's like a nuclear bomb, which at one moment can fucking explode. Still, it was not for nothing that the Uzumaki clan was called Scarlet-Haired Devils. I have already been able to fully experience their bright nature for myself. Well, okay, the main thing is that pumping goes in a stable way, and strength exercises give their benefits. Which pleases. And the best thing about my training is that not only do my stats improve, I also have some good skills. Dodge. Passive. Level 3-inch allows you to roll from an attack, depends on dexterity. Sprint. Passive. Level 4-inch accelerates running, depends on agility and endurance. High jump. Passive. Level 2-inch allows you to jump higher, depends on agility and strength. Meditation. Active. Level 5-inch accelerates HP and chakra recovery, depends on wisdom. This is where my successes end for today. And by the way, the demon sealed in me, even in captivity, has a bad effect on me with his demonic energy. For example, the abrasions and some small bruises that I received during training were cured in a matter of seconds. Which, I note, is very cool. In a world where you have to go through a sea of blood and corpses of your enemies, this trick will help you well. Naruto, get up, it's time for us to go home, I hope you can go? Returning to the real world and breathing freely, the boy saw Hana, who with a smile stretched out her hand to help him up. Although she was told to be a harsh coach, but she simply could not become like that, she did not really want to torment her little brother. But still, she did not let the blonde relax. Yes, I can, the boy calmly replied, not accepting help, and he got up from his seat. Brushing off his clothes and sniffing, Naruto allowed himself a little smile. Don't patronize me so much, Sister Hana. Naruto, you are my younger brother, and I am your older sister, I have to take care of you, the girl said in a serious voice, crossing her arms. Although, you're right, sometimes I overdo it, Hana grinned, gently patting the boy's hair. Okay, we're done for today, it's time to go home, let's go, Naruto, throwing a kind of bag over her right shoulder, Hana stomped forward. Mdamas, it doesn't seem to reach her with such words. But to tell you straight, I'm not in a hurry somehow, and I'm not really burning with desire. Let him do what he wants, as long as ordinary care does not cross the well-known line. We're back. Hana said in a loud voice, entering the house with Naruto. In response, the always smiling maid came out to the couple and, saying that dinner was ready, retired back to the kitchen. Kushina was not at home, as she was sent to a medical sanatorium for a month, because the last few years the woman's health began to deteriorate rapidly. Minato, aka Yondaime, was away to negotiate with neighboring villages. The blonde, taking off his shoes, immediately went to the bathroom to take a shower as soon as possible. 10 minutes later, fully dressed, Naruto went downstairs for dinner. Hana, having also changed her clothes, had been waiting for her brother at the table for a long time. For dinner, the maid cooked a rather ordinary dish, rice with meat. Bon appetit. Hana said, picking up her chopsticks. The young Namikaze did not radiate ardent optimism, like his sister, but still, repeating after his sister, Naruto began to devour today's dinner. During the meal, Hana was actively screaming about something and telling something. Naruto only occasionally added something of his own or simply answered briefly and clearly. He was thinking about the next day and slightly delved into the dialogue. The kid was already impatient to work with the chakra, which was present in a large volume in him. Reading various books and simultaneously increasing his intelligence, the blonde learned a lot about the chakra in a more detailed version. Since that bit of information that the system gave was insufficient. Sister, Naruto turned, looking closely at Hana. Yes, Naruto? Something happened, I'm wondering, how soon will we move on to the second stage, whose name is chakra? The girl was surprised, involuntarily asking again. Yes, I want to learn how to control it. Naruto, I think it's too early, and besides, you've only recently been discharged, and yet, I understand your concern, but still, after all, I am the son of the Hokage, and I must learn this as soon as possible. Don't worry, you'll be there. Since that's the case, I think there are no current options. Clan kids have been learning this from an early age, and I think my father will not mind that my brother will begin to get used to his chakra. After making a short pause, Hana finally decided, after thinking it over. Okay, we'll start tomorrow. Attention! A new task has been received. Discover what is hidden in yourself, feel your chakra and learn how to control it. Reward, plus 2,500 experience, an increase to all characteristics, a chance to learn how to control the chakra. Alright, everything turned out to be much easier. Now it remains to wait for tomorrow. I hope everything goes smoothly. The next day, coming to the training ground, Hana, before starting training, gave a long lecture about this very chakra. Well, in theory, I've been reading about this substance in my body for a long time in our library. But still, for the sake of decency, I listened to her, and Hana moved on to practice, which, of course, pleases me. So, Naruto, sitting down and taking the lotus pose, the girl continued. Sit down like me and try to relax. Naruto repeated everything after his sister without further ado and, taking a deep breath, tried to relax. Close your eyes and concentrate, try to find the thread that leads you to your chakra source, Hana said softly, watching the blonde, following the instructions of the girl. Naruto, closing his eyes, concentrated and switched to meditation mode. It was not difficult to find this very thread that led to his chakra source, and after 3 minutes the boy fully felt it. Not bad. As if noticing the fluctuations of Naruto's chakra, Hana moved on to a new point. And now try to disperse it all over your body and eventually release it. Having gone deep into himself again, the boy, having caught the whole basis of this trick, began to move his chakra all over his body. After some time, speeding up its flow, Naruto felt a weak current that beat lightly on his body. Changing her directions and gradually releasing her into the wild, the blonde was rapidly approaching climaxes. After taking another breath, young Namikaze completely released all the accumulated power. At that moment, Hana felt a faint push and a stream of wind that hit her lightly on the face. Holy shit, what was that just now? Almost saying it out loud, Naruto abruptly opened his eyes and saw Hana, who was looking at him with a satisfied smile. Well done, Naruto, you have successfully coped with this task. Yes, and so fast, I thought it would take much more time, Hana thought, tilting her head sideways. Well, okay, the main thing now is for you to improve in this matter, because in the future half of your training will be related to her. Congratulations. The task has been successfully completed. Reward, plus 2,500 experience. Chakra control improved by 1 level, your level of development goes to a new level. Well, fine, half the way is past, now it remains to go another half, Naruto whispered, looking at the clear sky. A lot of new and unusual things are waiting for him soon. A whole week has passed since I, so to speak, awakened, well, or gave an impetus to the awakening of my chakra. Schmakra is not the point. An incomprehensible substance in my body, speaking in human language. And I'm not afraid to say this, but thank God, if there is one, that I ended this business with success. The most basic thing was already over, now I had to learn how to control the chakra. Which is what I've been doing these days. And yes, don't say anything about Hana, but she has a very passionate character, and the little girl herself is extremely energetic, even too. But she's a really good teacher. In just 2 or 3 weeks, thanks to her teaching method, my characteristics have significantly improved, and my skills come out one by one. Although so far everything is in the human frame. I don't know how to shoot fireballs from my mouth or the like. Since it all depends on my chakra control, which, by the way, is now at the 5th level. I mean, still terrible. Well, okay, fixable. Hey, little brother, why are you lost, don't you like it? Hana lazily drawled after eating another portion of ramen. Oh, my god, eh? No, it's fine, I was just thinking, smiling, I also began to destroy a certain ramen from the local noodle, Ichiraku, like that's what it's called, which is strange, until now I have never walked around Konoha. But it's already been about a month, like, 2 months. And I, except for a special training ground, did not see anything else. So, today I corrected this matter by offering Hana a walk around the village, to which she reacted extremely strangely. And even wanted to dissuade. I think this is due to the fact that most of the villagers are not really happy that I am wandering around Konoha. Strong dislike and fear. These emotions are directly gushing from them. Well, to hell with it, so far no one has openly expressed their feelings for me, since Hana is nearby, and I myself am the son of Hokage. In theory, fuck who dares to be rude to me. But to put it mildly, I don't care. If only they didn't cross the line. Tuchi-san, can I have another portion? With a blissful smile, my sister screeched, holding out a bowl for more. Holy shit, how does she get so much into it? It's already the 7th in a row, and I still haven't coped with one. In general, this ramen itself is not bad, but what am I saying, it's very tasty. But still, even before I got to the half, I was already full. So, my walk around the village began with a noodle and it looks like it will end with it. I'm afraid Hana won't come out of here anymore. But I haven't even really seen anything yet. In addition to the disgruntled residents and annoying whispering on every corner. It's crazy, it's been a long time, maybe you should calm down already? But no, let's call the Hokage's son a monster, demon, and just a bad boy who will kill them all in the future. And yes, but this is just the beginning of the list. My acute hearing has heard worse. With grief in half, after half an hour I still managed to detach Hana from the Ichiraku, and after paying for lunch, we continued to walk around the village. Only now there was one more dissatisfied face. Sister Hana, I'm sorry if I acted selfishly, but even it seems to me that sitting in a diner all day is no better than walking around Konoha. I tried to settle the situation and drive away the gray clouds that were over Hana's head. Well, okay, I can't be angry with you for a long time. Having said that, she rubbed me on the top of my head. Well, cool. It turns out I'm also to blame. After walking around the village, our couple, passing the next block, came across a large building, which occupied a lot of territories. This is, Naruto wanted to say, but he was immediately interrupted. Ninja Academy, which annually receives more than hundreds of children who have chosen the path to become shinobi. Scratching her head, the girl continued with a smile. You too, Naruto, will soon enter there. That's right. Although I didn't have any choice anyway, and they didn't give it to me. On this note, the walk reached its climax, and, having climbed the village, wherever possible, the young Namikaze with a noticeable half-smile on his face returned home, not paying any attention to the hateful glances that were directed at him. Well, Konoha is to some extent now studied by me personally. After all, I want to find out everything myself, since you won't learn much from the memories of the old owner. My campaign was more or less successful, though intense. The pressure in the village from the residents was simply terrible. And, I think, at this pace, I really can become that demon or monster. Okay, surprisingly, I was exhausted by all this, and the body asks for sleep. And tomorrow I have a difficult day. Hana moved on to another stage. According to physical parameters, I not only need to pump my muscles, but also use them correctly, that is, long live, self-defense lessons from Hana. With such thoughts, the boy went home, waiting for tomorrow. Do I really have to bludgeon this? With what distrust, glancing at the healthy mannequin, Naruto frowned, still studying the punching bag. Don't worry, Naruto, I also wondered the same question when my father taught me. Hana smiled broadly, remembering her childhood. The first moments will be uncomfortable, maybe even painful, but I'm sure you can handle it. Well, okay, what should I do? Oh, yes, now I'll explain everything and show you. Standing in front of the mannequin and taking something like a fighting stance, Hana continued. To begin with, I'll teach you how to strike correctly, said the girl, pointing her fist at the dummy's abdomen. Left leg in front, right behind, body slightly tilted forward, left arm in front, right slightly behind. When swinging with the left hand, the kick starts with the left foot. Remember, when hitting the shoulder should stay in place. Having said this, Hana lightly hit the dummy in the stomach. A strange sound was heard, and a small piece of something fell out of the back of the dummy. Now you, pointing to the second dummy, Hana said with a good-natured smile. To begin with, you should not invest a lot of effort, you will break your knuckles. Start with light strokes and remember, this material is very difficult to break, so have fun. Yes, I thought it would be a little bit different, but fuck it. Let's get started. For the next 2 hours, Naruto practiced various punches on a training bag. After a few blows, the young man decided to hit his inanimate opponent a little harder. Following the instructions of his sister, the young man, taking a stand, swung his left hand and hit it right in the mannequin's face. The result was 0, the mannequin did not even stagger, but the blonde earned himself light abrasions on his arm and an unpleasant pain that caused noticeable discomfort. Damage received. Recovery time 10 minutes. It is recommended not to come into contact with solid objects. It looks like he overestimated his strength. Saying this, Naruto tried to clench his fist. As a result of this action brought him another portion of pain and discomfort. Trouble, little brother, but it wasn't so bad to begin with. You, most importantly, have understood what the point is, and then you will cope on your own, Hana said, gently stroking the boy's hands. It should get easier now. At this moment the girl's hands lit up with a green candle. Heat. I am not a special master in Ninjutsu, but still I can do something. The radiance shone even brighter. It should get easier. How do you feel? Well, as if there were no damage. Squeezing his palms again, the blonde made sure that the damaged part was completely restored. Medical equipment. I didn't think Hana knew how to use it. What else will she surprise me with? Well, Naruto, it could have been better, Hana said sadly, looking at how her little brother literally smears shurikens closely. You shouldn't swing like that. Throw calmly and without worried. Sister Hana, I'm only 6 years old and my accuracy, well, I'm a little lame, the blonde retorted, throwing another star in the direction of the target. That's just, the shell somehow ricocheted and almost hit, right into the conda. Well, yes, a little, it can be seen, the girl said calmly, just walking away. Will you throw at the enemies as well? Crossing her arms, the girl sighed in disappointment. I'm sorry, Naruto whispered, sitting down on the cold floor. Okay, don't worry. Everyone has failures, Hana said, also sitting next to her brother. I wasn't exactly perfect either, but in the end, thanks to diligent training, I became a Chunin. Stroking the boy on the top of his head, the red-haired one continued, so don't despair, I believe that my brother can cope. Yeah, she comforted me, and why the hell am I upset? Like a little child, you need to pull yourself together. Tc. I want to continue, can I? Of course. Without removing a kind smile from her face, Kunoichi continued to watch the blonde. She was sure that sooner or later, Naruto would get used to this business, much better than now. At times, Hana was amazed that her eternally sullen brother was making such great progress. The boy learned incredibly quickly and, strangely, did not behave like a 6-year-old child. It seemed to her that he was much older than his age. But, it was for the best. The most powerful weapon of the beloved village should be like this. Calm, reasonable, and the like. After all, someday the vessel of the great demon will help them a lot. The main thing is to keep total and inconspicuous control. But even a loving sister was hurt to know that in the future his little brother would be made into a simple weapon. Her father wants to protect the village in any way, even if it means turning his own child into a deadly weapon. After 2 hours of uninterrupted practice, Naruto collapsed on the floor, breathing heavily. Although clumsy, but the last call was the most successful. The boy was able to hit all the targets that were located in the family dojo. Fu, and this is much more difficult than I thought. He turned to the void, because there was no one else in the room except him. Hana was called on urgent business, and she left, leaving him to train alone. Which is what the younger Namikaze did. Wiping the sweat from his forehead, the blond man assumed a sitting position. Suddenly, the doors to the dojo opened with a barely audible creak. Minato himself was standing on the threshold. Always silent, cold and proud. Naruto, noticing his father, only gave him a completely uninterested look. But as befits, he stood up from his seat and respectfully bowed to the fourth Hokage. Hello, Naruto. How are you doing? Minato asked, getting closer to his offspring. So far, it's fine. The blonde was new to all this. He rarely managed to talk to his father, although he himself was not very eager to do so. This person did not cause him any positive feelings. For some reason, it seemed to him that Minato Namikaze was not the person to trust. Hana said that in recent months you have been making noticeable progress in terms of taijutsu. The blonde tensed. Something was wrong. Minato was not very interested in his skills before. Yes, he completely disappeared for a month, and even after returning, he was somehow purple before that. Well, you could say that Hana is a good teacher. I have no doubt, so I decided to check it out. In a week, you will show me everything that you have learned during all this time. You said how you cut it off. Not interested in his son's opinion, Minato finished his speech and disappeared in a yellow flash. And, what was that? Does he really want to see me in action? Naruto wondered, coming out of the dojo. Yeah, maybe it's worth a walk. It would be necessary to go to Ichiraku. It helps to sort out unnecessary thoughts. After going home, the blonde, after taking a shower, changed his soiled clothes for a cleaner one. A darkish t-shirt with a red whirlpool on the back and shorts of the same shade. Mom, turning to his mother, the blonde slowly walked into the living room, where Kushina was sitting on the bed, reading a book. Looking at her, Naruto was never surprised that a month's treatment could so rejuvenate Kushina. It was as if she had been completely transformed. No, before the treatment, the woman was still beautiful for her age, but now, she is completely different. Yes, baby? Raising her head, Kushina looked at her child. It seemed to her that during the month of absence, her son had changed to some extent. He became more alive and cheerful, no matter how strange it may sound. And his success in training was amazing at all. Can I take a walk? Don't worry, I won't go far. After saying this, the boy smiled weakly, looking at his mother. Well, just not for long. You know how your father doesn't like it when you stay there for a long time. She was right. Naruto was an unwelcome guest in the village, although the residents didn't try to show it, but at the sight of Jinchuriki, they visibly winced, looking at him. Fortunately, a couple of Umbu were always on guard and watched her son. You never know what could happen. Naruto walked down the long street of Konoha. It was not often that he managed to get out of the territories of his home. But now he's here, which of course is good. Sometimes such walks were necessary, because you want to learn something new and different. And sitting behind the four walls of your room, you won't see much. Passing through another alley, Naruto involuntarily stopped in place. This was his main mistake. The next moment something crashed into him at great speed. My head, moaned a pale, skinned girl of 6, 7 years old, with dark hair to her shoulders. A blockhead, why did you get in my way? Naruto came to himself because of the loud girl's voice, noticed all the comicality of the scene, not only that this beast knocked him down, so now she is also sitting on him. Get off me, he said calmly, not looking kindly at the girl. She, too, noticing this, immediately followed his instructions. CSR. Now I'm late because of you. Well, thank you. Noticeably offended, the girl quickly ran forward. And Naruto looked at her back with interest. Until now he had never met representatives of this clan. Although it's not surprising, because often he could not get out to the village. And now, unexpectedly, the young Uchiha knocked him down. The week passed quickly, but Naruto had enough time to develop in terms of throwing shurikens, simultaneously training in taijutsu with Hana. Now he was walking instead with Minato towards the family dojo. He was wondering how he would test his skills. I didn't have a couple of thoughts on this topic, but the blonde didn't want to guess and waited patiently. The doors to the room swung open. The first thing Naruto saw was a kind of ring, which most of all looked like something else. Well, certainly not a place for some sparring. Although maybe he was wrong. Minato, I've been waiting for you. Hearing a rough male voice, Naruto turned his head towards the source of the sound. It was a tall man, in rich robes, and the color of his hair, they were red. Neat beard and green eyes. One of the representatives of the once great clan looked at the yellow-haired boy with a smile. Uzumaki? Such thoughts flew through his head, looking at this guy. I'm sorry, Akio-san, Minato said, smiling awkwardly. This is my son, Naruto, he said, pointing to his offspring. Ho, I've been wanting to meet you for a long time, dear nephew. Stroking the boy on the top of his head, Akio smiled even wider. Takeo, say hello to your cousin. The boy who was behind Akio all this time, approaching the two blondes, respectfully bowed, both to the Hokage and his son. Glad to meet you, Naruto-san. All right, Minato, I brought my son. But, are you sure Naruto can handle it? Still, don't worry, I just want to see my son in action, so there is no reason to worry. Giving both boys a cold look, Minato confidently said, let's get started. Namikaze Naruto and Uzumaki Takeo stood opposite each other. Minato stood in the middle. Show your strength. This was the signal for both opponents to attack each other with lightning speed. After exchanging blows, the two future shinobi jumped back, preparing for the next attack. Takeo carefully watched the son of Hokage. He understood that it would be foolish to underestimate him. After making a couple of sharp movements, the boy hit the blonde man in the face with a U-turn. Noticing the blow in time, Naruto blocked it and launched a counterattack. 3 direct blows, to the face, stomach and solar plexus. If Takeo managed to successfully escape from the first 2 attacks, then he did not have time to avoid a kick to the solar plexus. Taking a fighting stance again, Takeo went on the attack, showering the enemy with a hail of blows. If the speed was approximately equal, then the impact force was different. Naruto felt that Takeo's fists were forcing him to step back and eventually open up. At the last moment, intercepting a blow to the jaw, the blonde took Takeo's hand, made a couple of cunning movements, throwing him over himself. The boy, of course, did not lose his head and somersaulted in the air, was able to successfully land on his feet. Expecting such an outcome, the blonde, coming not at the most successful moment for Takeo, was able to put him on his shoulder blades. A moment later, Takeo was lying in a painful grip. That's enough, I've seen enough, Minato commanded, after which Naruto released Takeo. Getting up from his seat, the blonde looked at him, dropped his hand to help him get up. Minato, your son turned out to be strong, I didn't expect it, Akio said, stroking his chin. Namikaze did not say anything and decided to just keep silent. It was a good fight, Naruto-san. Having accepted Takeo's help, he also stood up. Your technique is amazing, not everyone can combine their punches like that. I hope this is not our last sparring, Naruto-san. After saying these words, the guy bowed. Of course, I don't mind repeating, the blonde smiled, sighing wearily. Noticing Minato who was approaching him, Naruto visibly tensed up. That was, not bad, son. You're doing great too, Takeo. Thank you, Minato-san. Your son is a skilled fighter for his age. Thank you for the fight. After finishing, Takeo bowed again and went towards his father, who was about to leave. After saying goodbye, both Uzumaki left the dojo. Hana did a good job, but I'm still waiting for great results. You did well today, Naruto, Minato said as he approached the front door. Thank you, father. Literally pulling these words out of himself, the blonde smiled faintly. I will try to become even stronger. What should I expect from my son? I hope that was a compliment. It's been a few weeks since Minato saw me as a son. Well, I don't really care about that, though. What is strange is that after that he came into contact with me more and more often. If earlier our dialogue could be described as a conversation between two enemies, now it is quite the opposite. I can't even believe that the eternally silent and proud Hokage so abruptly changed his attitude towards me. Although what do I care? We can say that Namikaze began to look more like his father, and not like some kind of supervisor, well, okay, now I'm worried about something else. How do I win this damn shogi game? Hee, really, brother, do you want to lose again? Hana said slyly, looking at me slyly. Oh, my god, and why did I just agree to this? Listen, maybe we're done, 10 wins and 0 losses, aren't you tired yet? How can I say these words with resentment in my voice? I sighed heavily. The intellect, though, is pumped in, but it doesn't really help me in this matter. And Hana, horror, shogi is not some kind of checkers or chess, here you need to think deeper, your every move should be thought out to the last. Naruto, it's just a pleasure to play with you, she clapped her hands, making another move. It's not clear until the very end what kind of move you will make. In a word, you, brother, are unpredictable. I have heard it more than once. After these words, I began to build in my head an ideal plan for winning this game. I'm already sick of losing. Sometime later. Reward for ingenuity, plus 2 units of intelligence. Reward for ingenuity, plus 2 units of intelligence. Yes, you're kidding, Naruto hissed, not believing that he had lost this game too. How is this even possible? And why did my intelligence improve? Hana herself sat opposite the blonde man with a satisfied smile and sipped hot tea. Naruto, don't be upset, Hana said, trying to cheer up the young Namikaze. After all, you are a beginner, and if you continue to improve in this game, I assure you, you will go far. Shogi is not a game for the stupid, and I know you're not like that. The young man chuckled, crossing his arms. Take into account, Hana, this is not the end. Naruto exclaimed, looking at the red-haired girl with a challenge. Of course, the girl drawled, smiling maliciously. By the way, I hope you haven't forgotten about tomorrow's training. Pfft, how can I forget if you remind me about it 10 times a day? Well, you know, it's like you're going to use the chakra fully now. This is not a physical or spiritual exercise for you, you yourself must learn how to manipulate it. One gross mistake, and you can say, bye, to your tenketsu. Saying this, Hana slowly collected the pieces back into a special box. But, don't worry, I'm sure you can handle it, and I'll be there. Naruto grinned, helping his sister in collecting the figures. Suddenly, someone's loud footsteps rang out, and the sliding door to the Namikaze family's garden opened noisily, revealing a young maidservant, about 20 years old, with long dark hair. Her brown eyes were fixed in the direction of 2 relatives who were discussing something. Hana-sama, young master. She called out to both Namikaze and hurriedly approached them. Dinner is ready. Having said this, the maid hurried back to the kitchen. Will father be out today? Naruto asked, looking closely at Hana. He has a meeting with the daimyo, so probably not soon. Alright, let's go. Aya-chan is probably already waiting. The next day, immediately after home-schooling of various school subjects, Naruto rushed towards the landfill with all his might. There were a couple of hours left before Hana's arrival, and Naruto decided to spend them usefully. To be more precise, like a madman, he cut 20 circles with weights on his legs, whose weight reached as much as 10 kilograms. But after all, the Namikaze family's landfill site was not small. And, having reached the appointed figure, the blonde, almost coughing, fell to the ground from extreme fatigue. Several indicators of your characteristics have been improved by several points. Strength, 29-inch, agility, 26, speed, 34, endurance, 38, well, that's better than nothing, the boy croaked, assuming a standing position. What is strange is that lately it has become more and more difficult to improve the characteristics. Such conversations with yourself have become commonplace for a blonde, because there is no better interlocutor than you yourself. An hour later, Hana came to the training ground. Hi, little brother, a voice came from behind Naruto. And the blonde was surprised that he did not notice the presence of his sister, and she was very close for this. Hi, Sister Hana, Naruto replied, stretching his legs and arms. Ho, as I see, you've already warmed up, well done. Stroking the boy on the top of his head, Hana smiled proudly. Now we will start our practice in ninjutsu. In response, the blonde only nodded approvingly, looking expectantly at Hana. Yes, how much enthusiasm. Well, okay, here you go, the girl said, holding out a white piece of paper in the boy's direction. To begin with, we will determine what element you have, and in general how many of them are available to you. Naruto, silently taking the piece of paper, carefully examined it. Hold it between your index and middle finger and let the chakra flow through them, she asked. Naruto followed his sister's instructions. The flow of the chakra, yielding to control, immediately went to the designated source. A moment passes, and the white piece of paper simply burns, without causing the slightest discomfort to the blonde. As I thought, Kato, Kunoichi stated, smiling mysteriously, and at the same time she took out another similar piece of paper, only in a different color, black. Taking it, Naruto did the same manipulations as with the first one. As a result, the piece of paper in his hand simply broke into two parts, and a weak wind hit the blonde man's face. How unusual, Hana said with surprise in her head, scratching her chin. Brother, you are really unusual, the girl grinned, laughing softly. And why am I, in fact, unusual? Well, your second element is a futon. This is the first time I have met such a person, the owner of two elements that literally oppose each other. But in your case, it's a little different. Brother, you're going to be a kamikaze in the future. Even I'm jealous. It's too early to draw such conclusions. Listen, what's your second one? Naruto asked, looking questioningly at Hana. You'll see now. Smiling unkindly, Hana touched the tip of the boy's hair with her index finger, and in the next second, the hair of the color of the sun literally stood on end. Naruto, who was seriously surprised, jumped away from Hana at the same moment, stroking his hair. What was that? This is my second element. Rightin', both hands of the girl sparkled with electricity. I can control the lightning element. Well, your elements are now known to me. I can help with Kato, but with futon, we need another specialist. Well, I think there probably won't be any problems with that, Naruto said, pondering something. So, what's next? Will I really learn? Not so fast, Naruto. I won't let you near the spontaneous techniques, you'll hurt yourself. First, let's start with the simple techniques that you will be taught at the academy. But why wait so long? Let's start now. The first. This is a bunshin, but a jutsu, a few sharp hand seals, and an exact copy of her double appears near Hana. Seeing the second Hana, Naruto involuntarily cringed. After all, what could be worse than one red-haired beast? That's right, another such beast. In a detailed version, having told about this simple technique, Hana, having dispelled the clone, asked Naruto to do the same as she did. Namikaze, without thinking for a long time and concentrating a sufficient amount of chakra, was able to create a clone on the first attempt. Technique, Bunshin no Jutsu, has been studied. Description: the technique allows you to create clones of yourself. These clones are not independent creatures and cannot cause harm. Used only in support. Great. Encouraging the blonde, Hana switched to the second standard technique. Or to be more precise, henge. A couple of deft hand movements, and Hana turns into Minato in an instant. This is an elementary ninjutsu, with which you can turn yourself into another object. Naruto, no longer listening to her, began to slowly fold the seal, after which he also turned into Minato, from which he was surprised. Technique, Henge no Jutsu, has been studied. Description: reincarnation technique. These words speak for themselves. This technique is used only in support. Even better. Hana said cheerfully, looking with pride at the younger one, who was making very good progress for his age. I don't understand, and this is what they do at the academy for a whole year? Please, this is nonsense, you don't even need good control here. Here is the darkness, brother, aren't you tired yet? Hana asked solicitously, smiling. You've done so much today, maybe. No, I want to continue. Sister, teach me something else. And then these reincarnation and useless clone, which is not even real, do not give me anything so useful. Well, the girl hesitated, not hurrying with actions. This technique will be much more difficult than the previous ones. It requires a huge amount of chakra and good control. But by studying it, you will double your learning rate, really? The blue eyes, which were filled with fanatical fire, were eager to see this technique. There is only one seal in jutsu, but extreme concentration of attention is required. Its main complexity is also the reason for bringing its multiple version into the category of forbidden techniques. After the death of the clones, they transfer all their fatigue to the creator, as a result of which an inexperienced shinobi may die. And, as I said, it's chakras intensive. I myself can only create 60 clones to the fullest. And this is despite the fact that I am Uzumaki. But I think you can handle it, because your control will allow you to do it. You know, sis, you're a great teacher, the blonde grinned, pulling a wide smile on his face. And after all, he did it, oddly enough, from a pure heart, because thanks to this girl, the boy was able to learn a lot of things. And then, in response, also smiling, Hana put her hand on the young man's head. Nice to hear. Well, let's get started. Concentrating the right amount of chakra, Kunoichi said, Kage Bunshin, but jutsu. And at the same moment, an exact copy of her appeared next to the girl. Naruto, suddenly taking the copy by the hand, realized that it was material. Now it's your turn, come on, brother, you can do it. After taking a couple of steps back, Naruto, breathing freely, repeated the same movements as Hana. It took a few seconds for 3 copies of him to appear behind the young man in an instant, with an unusual vertical pupil of purple color. The age of the acting female characters, Hana, 16 Itachi, 14 Shursui, 17 Hokage's office was in semi-darkness most of the time. Many thought that this was in order to create an oppressive atmosphere and feel their superiority. But Minato Namikaze wasn't that kind of person. The lack of normal lighting helped him to relax after a busy day or, conversely, to put his thoughts in order and concentrate on a specific goal. Especially after negotiations with other kage or daimyo, and now another day was coming to an end, Minato was sitting in a comfortable chair, filling out some papers. The conversation, with the daimyo of the Land of Fire, significantly ruffled the nerves of the man, and with a frown, he, returning back to Konoha, sat down to his usual business, filling out annoying contracts and documents that had accumulated so noticeably. The young Hokage didn't even have enough time to see his family after a week's absence. It didn't bother him much. Becoming the new Hokage, Minato was very distanced from his family, completely enlightened himself to a new position. The third, now I fully understand your grumbling about this job, the blonde grinned, taking a sip of warm tea. Having signed the next document, Minato sighed wearily and tipped his head back, trying to collect his thoughts at least for a moment. Thinking about something, Namikaze did not notice that he had gone deep into himself. The man thought about different things, but most of all, about his beloved offspring, or rather about the Kubi vessel. The strongest weapon of the village, which was Namikaze Naruto, both bothered and to some extent pleased Minato. Over the past couple of months, Jinchuriki has been making noticeable progress and learning quickly, and he did all this without permission. And that's what bothered Minato. After all, before his offspring, he did not show any desires for becoming a shinobi, striving for strength or the like. In case of such an action on the part of a potential weapon, Minato was ready to go to extreme measures. But still, to his, albeit partial, joy, everything worked out. The demon carrier decided to act on his own. The flow of thoughts was interrupted by a knock on the wooden door. Come in, Minato said immediately, having more or less regained his normal state. The door to Yondame's office immediately opened. A tall girl in the standard attire of a hidden leaf Hunin came into the room. Welcome back, Hokage-sama. Did you want to see me? Kunoichi said, bowing respectfully. Throw this officiousness aside, Hana. Report on how Naruto's training is progressing. Minato said dryly, without even looking in the direction of the girl and continuing to fill out the documents for himself. The learning process is in full swing. Kunoichi began to speak, not daring to look in the direction of Yondaime. 2 days ago, they started mastering low-ranking techniques in ninjutsu, and also, Naruto discovered 2 elements: fire and wind. Having told all this without hesitation, Hana was silent for a moment. Still thinking about the incidents that happened in their training, a couple of days ago. Minato's voice was as cold as ever. Looking at his daughter, Namikaze asked, what about the rest? Jinchuriki has achieved good success in the field of taijutsu. In mental abilities, everything is at the proper level. Chakra control, brought to the possible limit, for his age. Techniques of rank E and D are given without much difficulty. After a short silence, Minato put the work papers aside and looked seriously at Kunoichi. Hana, is there something you're not telling me? Yondaime said, squinting at the girl in disbelief. What do you mean? Finally raising her head, Hana looked at her father. Meeting the blue eyes, the girl felt not well for a moment. Fear mixed with anger. Stupid girl, a moment, and Minato turns up next to Hana. Do you really think you can lie to your own father so brazenly? From the emanating aura, Hana could not even move, and breathing became more and more difficult. And after all, Minato was just showing a pitiful grain of all his strength. No matter how, not only wise and intelligent people were chosen for the post of Hokage, but also shinobi with outstanding strength. Tell me, I'm waiting, Hana, or should I remove you from the role of a teacher for Naruto? Minato said menacingly, relaxing the pressure of his aura. Breathing heavily, Hana looked at her father with barely noticeable contempt. The girl had no choice apart from simple ninja techniques. I taught Naruto, AB, rank jutsu, referred to as Kage Bunshin, but jutsu. In a trembling voice, Hana literally pulled these words out of herself. Minato did not give the go-ahead to master techniques higher than C rank. Father, I'm sorry. The final result, what was it? As if not paying attention to the last words, Kunoichi, Minato asked the question he was interested in. The technique was performed perfectly on the first attempt. But, there was something else. The clones were somewhat different from their original. That's how it is, Minato said in a calm tone, sitting back in his seat. After hearing Hana's explanation, the man came to the final conclusion. Apparently, Kyuubi can influence his Jinchuriki so much. Even locked up, rubbing his temples, Minato smiled unkindly, although, I expected this. The power of this demon is almost impossible to seal to the end. What should we do? Hana asked, assuming a standing position. For now, let's watch. This phenomenon does not pose any danger. It was about the same with Kushina. It only says that the nine-tailed chakra began the process of merging with the chakra of its carrier. Limiters will not allow the demon to do what he wants. This monster does not shine with any freedom. I've taken good care of that. But, father, what if Naruto gets hurt? That won't happen, I assure you, Minato replied indifferently, sitting back at his desk. If everything goes this way, then I think we can proceed with spontaneous techniques. Hearing this, Hana was in mute shock, but quickly regaining her composure, she said, Father, I don't think it's right. Hana's voice was quiet and wary. Don't you think it's too early? The sooner we start, the better. If his chakra has already started to mix with the Kyuubi chakra, then it is quite possible that the effectiveness of using techniques will be many times more powerful. Minato answered without hesitation with a tired sigh. I understand everything. Having said this, Hana was about to leave the Hokage's office, but suddenly the voice of the fourth made her stop right at the door. Not so fast, Hana. Considering your behavior today and the fact that you wanted to hide such important information from me, suggests thoughts about replacing the teacher. The outburst of indignation on the part of her daughter made Minato only grin. Well, Hana, control yourself. I'm speaking figuratively. Still, Naruto is used to your method of training. It will not be good if all the work goes to waste. And what do you suggest? The girl chuckled, crossing her arms. It's pretty simple. Physical training will be on you, but Naruto's elemental-based techniques will be taught by another teacher. A fighter from a special squad that I personally formed. So that's how. And who is it, if it's not a secret? Itachi Uchiha. After hearing this name, Minato saw a rather rare picture. The always collected daughter, for a couple of seconds, allowed herself to release a rather creepy aura. And noticing this, Namikaze continued with a calm expression on his face, a talented shinobi of the current generation and one of the few who gives me confidence. Well, I think you know very well what this person is like. No matter how, before leaving the Umbu, you were a good team. She is not suitable for the role of a teacher, with her psychology. Finally calming down, Hana breathed freely. I can quite teach Naruto the elemental techniques myself. I have no doubt, but it's still useless to challenge this decision. So, you'll have to obey Hana. Free. Yes, father. Slightly bowing, Hana opened the front door and hurried to get out of this place. Emotions, irritation and anger that boiled in her, begged for freedom. Clenching her fists to the point of pain, the girl disappeared into Shunshin. Once on the roof of one of the high-rise buildings, Hana froze, looking at the night Konoha. Sitting on the edge of the roof, Kunoichi sighed heavily, remembering her not easy conversation with Minato. To this Uchiha, why her? The girl hissed, casting fleeting glances at the residents of Konoha who were returning home after the evening service. How long are you going to stare at me like that? Looking back without interest, the red-haired woman saw a figure that was standing motionless, looking in her direction. Is someone in a bad mood today? Hearing a female voice from under the groundhog mask, Hana saw an ANBU fighter who finally decided to show himself in the light. As always, you are too inquisitive. Shursui-san. Kunoichi said when she saw her interlocutor's face. Not too long dark hair that reached to the shoulders, slightly pale skin, pleasant facial features and brown eyes that emphasized a pretty face. By what fates, just like that, I was returning home, and here on you, I see my comrade in the gray clouds. Sitting next to the young Namikaze, Uchiha looked at the girl. Hana-chan, a frown doesn't suit you. What happened? I've never seen you like this. Father, it happened. The girl muttered, arriving not in the best mood. Lord Hokage? I know, it's none of my business. Did they quarrel? No, I respect my father very much and always try not to bother him unnecessarily. But this time, something in me got stuck. Let me guess, is this related to baby Naruto? Shursui said with a kind of sly smile, seeing how Hana was a little embarrassed after what she heard. Yeah, looks like a point. What is it this time? Well, some time later. And now I will see her again, and besides, she will be the one to teach my brother. After listening carefully to the whole story, Shursui came to a rather unusual conclusion. You know, Hana, don't be offended, but do you happen to have a younger brother complex? And at that moment, Uchiha had to get away from a direct blow to the face as soon as possible, using Shunshin. Well, don't get excited. I'm just kidding. Grrr, Shursui-san, one day your jokes will come out sideways to you. Namikaze muttered, getting up from her seat. Okay, I'll take a note. Having made sure of her safety, the brunette continued. By the way, I haven't seen Naruto for a long time. I hope he hasn't forgotten me. Well, no, I won't let you go to him. And then knowing your character, it's easy to assume that you can unhealthily influence him. Yes, whatever you say. But I'll still see the boy somehow. maybe con, and here's another thing. Itachi has changed over the year of your absence, so be careful. Still, after your altercation, she went gloomy for a long time. I'll take it into account, thank you, Shursue-san. Saying goodbye, both kunoichi disappeared into Shunshin at the same moment, leaving behind a barely noticeable, sparkling trail. A new day has come, for all residents of Konoha, including Naruto. The awakening of young Namikaze was surprisingly quiet and calm this time. But at that time, Hana should have been literally ramming the door in an attempt to wake up her little brother. But not this time. After getting dressed and doing all the morning manipulations, the blonde yawned and went down to the first floor. The smell of coffee coming from the kitchen cheered the boy up at the moment, and he hurried to taste today's breakfast. Entering the kitchen, he saw a maid who was preparing breakfast at her usual pace and a thoughtful Hana who was calmly drinking her morning coffee. Good morning, everyone. It turned out to be very easy to attract attention to yourself, and hearing Naruto's voice, both girls answered him at the same moment. Good morning, brother. Hana chirped with a smile, looking at the young man. And good morning to you, young master. Before Naruto could take a step forward, there was a rhythmic knock on the front door. Motioning the maid to stop, Namikaze himself slowly headed towards the door. Not many people were allowed on the territory of the Yondaime house, and the kid was wondering who this uninvited guest was. Opening the door, the boy beheld a short girl with long darkish hair. She looked at least 15 or 14. Looking at the stranger's face, in addition to dark brown eyes, the boy noticed long stripes of unknown origin running from the inner corners of the eyes to the middle of the cheeks, which looked extremely unusual. Who are you? When the blue eyes met the brown ones, Namikaze deduced another fact. The girl's face did not display a single emotion. I'm sorry for the sudden intrusion. Bowing respectfully, the girl introduced herself. I am Uchiha Itachi, at the request of Yondaime. From now on I will be your mentor. Glad to meet Namikaze Naruto. With a barely noticeable half-smile, the brunette replied, noting the fact that her student really looked very much like the fourth, both in face and hair color. A new mentor? Calmly reacting to such a statement, the young man, after a little thought, decided to let the guest into his home. Come on in, we were just about to have breakfast. The kid said with a childish smile, taking Itachi's hand. I don't think this is such a good idea, Naruto. Hearing Hana's voice and feeling a somewhat overwhelming aura from the older sister, the boy only batted his eyelashes in puzzlement. Uchiha Itachi. Haven't seen you for a long time, Hana-san. Yeah, it turned out to be a fun morning. I would never have thought that Hana could so openly show her anger in someone's direction. And why the hell did I put them on opposite each other, already lightning sparkles? And as it turned out, this girl, referred to as Itachi, is really my mentor. Leaving for work, Minato confirmed this with some kind of nasty smile and disappeared using his teleportation technique. That damn schemer, what is he up to? Surely this blonde man knew that these two would not get along, but still decided on such a risky act. By the way, for a mentor, Itachi's age is not that small, but 14 years old. It doesn't even pull a joke. Well, anyway, this is the case, the last thing that should worry me, and now, from now on, I will learn chakra-based techniques from you? After taking a couple of sips of morning tea, I decided to break this tense silence. That's right, Naruto-san, she nodded, looking in my direction. Wait, why is she so respectful? And yes, at times I forget my status in this village. No matter how his main weapon and the son of the fourth Hokage. To tell the truth, I myself wonder what your potential is. Pf. And anyway, I could teach my brother all the basics myself. My hyperactive sister chuckled, crossing her arms. I have deduced a very funny fact. Itachi and Hana, the complete opposite of each other. If the red-haired beast actively shows all possible emotions, Itachi is like a rock in this case, not a single muscle on her face twitched during our entire dialogue. And I thought I had a problem with this, but I don't, there is a worse candidate. Although, as it seems to me, Shinobi should be exactly like that. Calm, reserved and speaks exclusively to the point. Apparently, this girl is clearly not an easy one. If Minato himself attached it to me, then it seems to me that in this way he will be watching all my actions all the time. After all, when Jinchuriki starts using the chakra, you never know what can happen. That's just, isn't she too small for that? Although what difference does it make? The main thing is that the effectiveness of her training is maximum. I somehow don't give a damn about the rest. Don't be so sulky, Hana, but thanks to you, I'll improve my taijutsu skills. After all, this is also an important matter for the future shinobi. To console, not my best side, but there is a result. This helped Hana to cheer up. That's right, I'll seriously take care of you. You know, maybe you shouldn't have done it. The sun is shining, the wind is making noise, the birds are chirping, and I walk, enjoying the views of nature, while two kunoichi figure out the relationship behind me. Although Itachi was doing well, but even she may get bored when someone has been buzzing in her ear for so long. And listening to all their verbal diarrhea, I managed to find out a lot of new things. As it turned out, Hana, even before my relocation to this carcass, was a fighter of an elite squad called ANBU. Well, in short, those freaks with masks who are constantly watching me during my walks around the village. Ahem, so, Itachi is also an Umbu fighter, and why am I not surprised? Uchiha, and despite her age, she surprises me more and more. Something distracted me. As I said, my sister and Itachi work together, up to a certain point. I didn't go into details, and I didn't try, but apparently something went wrong during the next task, because of the guilt, either of Hana or Itachi. It would be fine, they just broke off during the mission, but as a result of their failure, there were victims, during which a lot of guys from the squad that Hana commanded died. So, disappointed in herself, my sister left this position, having had a quarrel with Itachi. It would be necessary to ask Hana about that ill-fated day later, or is it not worth it? After all, not everyone wants to remember the day when a lot of people died due to your mistake. Although what am I talking about? They're shinobi, dying in packs is natural for this world, grrr, and why did father choose you? Oh, Kami, it's about to start. Well, I don't know, maybe Lord Hokage is more confident in my abilities and experience than trusting Naruto-san's training to his stupid daughter? Uchiha retorted, snapping back. Well, now I'm completely sure that even she doesn't have iron patience. Oh, you little, this is. Itachi-san, should I address you by your first name or call you mentor? Again, attracting and simultaneously shutting up these two turned out to be an easy task. And, if it's not too much trouble, don't be so formal with me. After all, you are older than me. No, I don't really care about it from a big mountain, but to some extent, I am rather annoyed by such, too much, respectful treatment. All people, no matter how equal, after thinking a little and making a decision, the brunette gave an answer. Okay, Naruto. Since that's your wish, I can't resist. And you can address me as you want. Answering me, Itachi decided to walk next to me, rather than being in proximity with her sister. That's great. Throwing a childish smile on myself, I drew attention to the raging aura of indignation and annoyance of Hana. Sister, is something wrong? Nothing, everything is fine. Having said that, she quickly stomped ahead of us. Yeah, she doesn't seem to like me talking to Itachi. Well, okay, you'll be patient, sister. By the way, why the hell are we going to this damn third polygon, which is God knows where? After all, we ourselves have a special training ground of considerable territory. And here you are, Minato has allowed the village's potential weapons to use their abilities outside of his house, and it is worth noting that lately, I have begun to feel the emotions of strangers too well. I thought it was related to some skill, but no. Since I don't have the ability to empathize in my arsenal. But it's in Kyuubi's abilities, which I can get by harnessing his power. The question is, how did I find out? Well, quite simply, it was written in the system what abilities I would get, being able to control the full power of the nine-tailed. That's just, there is one discrepancy, these opportunities are blocked for me so far, so let's go back to the first question, how do I manage to feel the emotions of other people? You will never believe, the one who turned Konoha into ruins during my birth, the one who is called the strongest Biju, who is currently sealed in me, affects me even more as it seemed. In addition to regenerative abilities, the chakra of this monster began to gradually merge with mine. At first I thought that this was a dangerous case and I urgently needed to turn to adults, but then I realized that the essence of the demon itself was still sealed, and only its power was making its way in small quantities through the seal filling me. Roughly speaking, though not fast, I suck out the fox's chakra like a mosquito, combining it with mine. As a result, my chakra channels become denser and more extensive, and the effectiveness of techniques increases at times. About studying I am completely silent. Creating clones, this B-rank technique that I learned in a short time, at the age of 6, based on all these situations, although I can use empathy, it is not so effective if I am not at close distance with a certain person. Well, my body has also become stronger, it seems to be everything. Strange, why is it so quiet? Itachi is silent, and Hana, wow, also silent. What a rare picture. I hope this silence will last until the third polygon. Soon, out of the dense forest, we came to a huge clearing. No, seriously, it was eerily huge. Our landfill is not even close to this place. Also, there was a river not far from us. How convenient, after exhausting workouts, you can immediately refresh yourself. Well, here we are. Hana said, stretching her legs and arms. Well, Naruto, you can do anything you want here. Use your powers to the fullest and do not worry about the destruction. This area contains a huge amount of chakra, because of which, living creatures in the form of grass grow here very quickly. Yeah, I get it. And where do we start? First you need to warm up, Naruto. Having said that, Itachi beckoned me to follow her. Hey, you, my brother's physical abilities are on me. So that, understood? Concentrating the chakras on the legs and these weights will not be a problem for you. Uchiha informed me, patting the top of my head. Why are these people pawing my hair all the time? And about the weights, a very good idea. Wow, that's not a bad idea, Itachi-san. After that, we'll move on to the technicians. Wow, she can smile. And very nice, and judging by the emotions, this is not a mask. Well, let's take a look at this way of training. Inhale, exhale, inhale, let's go. With these thoughts, Naruto, following the instructions of the second mentor, began his run. At this time, ignored Namikaze Hana, frowning, approached Itachi, who was watching the student with interest. Grrr, and what are you whispering about here? Itachi, if you haven't forgotten, it's my duty to train Naruto physically. I'm aware, it's just that this method is much more effective. And yes, Hana, aren't you being overprotective, Naruto? Itachi asked, looking questioningly at her former colleague. Mind your own business. As if you don't babble yourself, with your little one. Hana muttered, looking away. You know, talking to you is the last thing I want in this life. The brunette chuckled, returning to watching the blonde again. Similarly. Hana snorted, not wanting to continue the dialogue. Bored, it was worth saying these words to the young Namikaze, as immediately on reflexes she dodged the kunai that flew in her direction. "How are you? Ha, how interesting, days fly by, months pass, and you Itachi-chan still have a complex about it," Hana said, adding oil to the fire and defiantly crossing her arms at the level of her considerable chest, the third size. Tc. "I have everything ahead of me, and in battle they will only get in the way," Uchiha retorted, not daring to retreat. "Of course. I have no doubt," Hana replied with a wry smile, stepping back a little. Do you want to check if the face is tomato?" The brown eyes at the moment changed to a red pupil with 3 tomos, made it clear that the young Uchiha would not tolerate an insult in her direction, especially from the mouth of a red-haired girl. "Since brother, it's far enough from here, then I'll be happy to rub your nose, like in the old days." The flashing chakra in the form of lightning began to rapidly envelop Hana's entire body. "Isn't that right, Itachi-chan? Now we will see it." As soon as I finished winding circles with a weight on my legs, relaxing a little, I began to slowly disperse the chakra through my body so as not to get tired quickly. And yet, I like Itachi, in the sense that she will obviously give me a good acceleration for pumping. By the way, I just now began to notice a strange shaking. Looking back, I still saw the source of this anomaly in the distance. To put it bluntly, 2 pillars of fire met each other at the moment of my observation. Stop. Itachi and Hana seemed to be there too. Did my hyperactive sister really drive my second mentor? Scribe, are these pillars their handiwork? It's not too bad, I should have stopped them, but I feel that my father will come running here soon after learning about this nightmare. Speeding up, I moved at full speed to the 2 girls. Wow, even from here I feel the pressure of their aura. From Hana there is fury mixed with anger, from Itachi the same thing, but the brunette controls herself. Mdams, apparently, they don't have a weak skirmish there. As soon as I reached my destination, the first thing that appeared before my eyes was a couple of icons with information that I had successfully improved my characteristics. Waving them away, I looked at the girls again. Ha, here they give. Yes, these 2 monsters move so fast that it is practically impossible to see them. And their techniques, it's just creepy. Can my sweet sister really be so dangerous? She doesn't even fold the seals. And even now, during the fight, she manages to tease the Uchiha saying that her breasts are small. You know, I think I can guess now what they quarreled about. I can't say that Hana has an udder like a cow, no, quite normal breasts, though at 16, it's too strange. Well, okay, she quite has one of the important female charms. There would still be brains, there would be no price at all, so, our little brunette can't boast of this. And, that's fine. After all, she is only 14 and it is somewhat stupid to reproach her for this. Damn it, their fight is getting much deadlier. The second element has already been used. Hana has lightning, and Itachi has air. Well, my eyes have not seen such passions yet. By the way, the situation with Uchiha is somewhat different. Before her eyes, she could see the clan Dojutsu Uchiha, referred to as Sharingan. And she makes full use of it, deftly and quickly dodging Hana's attacks and using counterattacks against her. Now it's completely clear to me what Konoha's ANBU is. Well, I think I know how to stop them, because as I remember, their main task is to teach me, not to sort things out. Having created a clone, I sent him to 100% destruction with a slight grin, a look from the side. A successfully created clone, having heard the whole plan from the original, went to the 2 beasts with a dissatisfied mien. When Itachi and Hana finished folding the next seal and unleashed a huge fireball, they only noticed the 3rd chakra source at the last moment that was on the trajectory of their attack. Horror and panic immediately hit Hana's brain as soon as she realized whose chakra it was. The younger Uchiha also realized this and wanted to reach the younger Namikaze as quickly as possible by removing him from the trajectories of the technique. But neither one nor the other had time to take a step when 2 huge balls collided with each other. it took a couple of seconds for both girls to immediately rush to the crash site. "Be brother?" the girl said in disbelief, slowly approaching the gray smoke that arose after the collision of two techniques. Itachi also wanted to follow the red-haired one, but halfway stopping, she realized that something was wrong, and turning around she saw a blonde man who was smiling at her with all 32 teeth. "Hana, Itachi, have you calmed down?" The blonde's voice hit the girls' ears like a thunderclap, and finally realizing that they had been tricked, they only glared angrily at Naruto. "Oh, you little," angrily choosing words. Hana at the same moment was near her brother. "I'll show you how to scare people." Tugging at the smooth cheek of the boy, the girl kept babbling about the fact that the younger brother is still a dunce. "That's it, that's enough, I get it." Barely getting out of the clutches of his older sister, Naruto jumped back, but crashing into something with his back, the youngster froze in place, feeling like someone behind him was literally killing him with a look. Slowly turning his head, the blonde met Itachi's Sharingan and her displeased face. "Oh, Itachi-san, I didn't notice you, haha." When pale hands reached out to the boy, he only hurried to close his eyes, guessing about the further scenario. But when a warm hand started stroking the blonde top of his head, the kid, surprised by this, immediately opened his eyes, seeing how Itachi calmed down, regained her usual composure and now looked at him guiltily. "Naruto, you really forgive me and your bad sister?" Slightly tilting her head, Uchiha apologized. And Hana, hearing another insult in her direction, just snorted and slowly approached them. "Such a noise was made, and you could in fact suffer, again about, there's no need to apologize, Itachi-san." Gesturing to stop the brunette, the blonde grinned. "It was interesting for me to watch your fight, though by the middle you both got too carried away. And so, I can safely say that I am glad to have such a mentor as you. I can't wait for you to teach me fire techniques." Hearing this from the younger Namikaze, a half-smile appeared on the Uchiha's face, and nodding to the student, she was surprised at such enthusiasm of the boy. "Listen, brother," Hana gave her voice, also deciding to apologize. "I also behaved, okay, Hana, let's go." Interrupting the red-haired Naruto looked at her carefully. "It's as stupid to be mad at you as it is to eat your cooking." The blonde man laughed faintly, causing Itachi to smile. "Stop laughing, is it really that bad?" As if forgetting about what happened about 5 seconds ago, Hana asked the question she was interested in. "As you can see, your main taster, that is me, is still alive, so, sister, do not despair. That's just, find yourself a new one, otherwise I'll soon stop feeling the taste of food." Naruto chuckled, crossing his arms. "Well, okay, leaving this topic for later. Since you've both regained self-control, can we continue?" "You're right, Naruto." Uchiha nodded, stretching her arms and legs. "I agree, so let's move on to Tai." "Naruto, if you've already warmed up, we can move on to the techniques. What do you think?" Simply interrupting Hana, Itachi at the moment called the blonde's attention to herself, which inwardly rejoiced and grinned triumphantly, glancing at the red-haired one out of the corner of her eye. "I agree." The answer did not keep the brunette waiting, and she once again beckoned for herself. The blonde headed towards the river. "Itachi, I will definitely not forget this for you." Threatening with her fist and realizing that the younger brother still could not be attracted by ordinary taijutsu, Hana gave up and just looked at their backs. "Stupid brother, is Itachi better than me?" The girl snorted, sitting down near a huge oak tree, the branches and leaves of which created a shadow to hide from the sun. Glancing at the Uchiha, Hana grinned. "Well, no, I won't give it to you, brother. So, here we are near the river, where do we start?" I asked, looking at the girl questioningly. "Let's start with a simple one, how are you with chakra control?" "Well, I create clones and other low-rank techniques calmly, so it's probably a good one. Did you walk on water or on other surfaces?" "By the way, yes, I have never climbed a tree using chakra and walked on water, as other shinobi do." But I think there should be no problems with this, so let's try. It should work. No, we did not pass this stage with Hana. It's understandable. Sighing heavily, the brunette, taking off her shoes, went to the river. Naruto, the main thing is to direct the chakra to the legs and be able to hold it there. If you overdo it, you will not be able to do with one injury. So, look carefully. And after that, she started walking right on the water. Yes, that's how she took and stomped. Just a dumb shock, straight, the second coming of Jesus. Well, let's not make her wait. In fact, this is a pretty easy thing to do, even with my control. While Uchiha was explaining what and how, meanwhile, I took off my shoes and stepped forward. How nice it is to feel this coolness under your feet. And now, let's direct the chakra, accelerate its flow, just not to overdo it, and, bingo. It's like I was lifted up. Wow, what a strange feeling, words can't convey that for sure. That's just, the foot hurts. I wonder what this is connected with. I know it may be a little difficult, but you're right. As soon as Itachi found me standing on the water, her face again twisted in surprise. Ahem, what's next? In fact, even though I completed this task the first time, it is quite difficult to keep myself on the weight. And, probably, it was not necessary to disperse the chakra so intensively, but what can I do? This way I managed to master techniques more easily. And as always, the fox chakra inside me contributed here. Well, Shaggy Monster, you are very good use. I can't wait for the moment when I completely curb you. Wow, very, not bad and abnormal. Tilting her head sideways, Uchiha looked at me carefully. Since that's the case, let's move on to the second stage, namely tree walking. Coming out on dry land, I was in no hurry to put on my shoes and walked barefoot towards a huge oak tree. In height, I would give 10 meters, although maybe more. It is undesirable to fall from such an elevation. The scheme here is approximately the same, as I understand it? Asked Uchiha, who had just come out of the river, was walking towards me. Hearing me, Itachi just nodded approvingly and started looking expectantly. Dachshund, we have to be more careful this time. Falling on the bare ground, I had no plans and will not. Coming close to the tree and directing the usual amount of chakra to where I needed, I began to perform the task. So this is what the world looks like if they stand vertically. Well, let's go. Inhale and step forward. Crackly. As soon as the younger Namikaze took a step forward, the tree under him simply cracked. The result, the blond man who fell back to the ground, was in disbelief for a couple more seconds, until the brunette hanging over him returned him to the real world. As I thought. The brunette spoke calmly, helping Naruto to get to his feet. Your control is on the level, but your chakra, it's unusual. Not like mine or Hana's. Apparently, she is much denser if she speaks directly. Yeah, and what should I do? Try again, but this time with less chakra. After thinking a little and shaking off the dust from his shoulders, the blond man, approaching another tree, began to get down to business. Was not, with such thoughts, the young Namikaze directed a sufficient amount to the right place, took a deep breath. Just not to fall, the young man whispered, taking a step forward. Some time later. No, to hell with it, I can't do it anymore. Naruto groaned wearily, falling to the ground. I spent the whole day on this stuff and without result. The blond man said with a heavy sigh. What an irony, up to this moment there were no obstacles in front of the house as such, and if there were, then I competently bypassed them. But this time, how are you, Naruto? The boy's train of thought was cut short by a sudden female voice. Opening his eyes, the boy saw his mentor, who was sitting on a huge cobblestone and looking at him with a bored look. It's been worse. Having briefly answered the question, the kid wanted to get to his feet, but the crippled foot said the opposite. Well, I overdid it so much that even the fox's chakra does not help. Having achieved nothing, Naruto took a sitting position. A pleasant evening breeze passed over the boy's back, forcing him to relax at least a little. I think that's enough for today, the brunette said, in a moment being near the student and silently stretched out her hand forward to help him get up. I agree, and Hana has long gone home. Having once again accepted help, Namikaze got to his feet, barely restraining himself. As soon as Uchiha took her hand away, Naruto fell forward at the same moment. Well, cool, I've broken my legs and my face, probably now too. Well, okay, it's been worse. As if resigned to his fate, Namikaze closed his eyes and prepared for the blow. But the dark-haired Kunoichi reacted in time at the last moment, catching the youngster, saved the latter from a rather unpleasant fate by hugging him to her. For some reason it's too soft for the earth, the young man thought to himself, opening his blue eyes. What he saw puzzled Naruto for a moment, because the brunette, who had pressed herself to herself, was still in no hurry to let him go. Itachi-san? As if coming out of a trance, Uchiha immediately realized in what position she was standing and, slightly embarrassed, quickly overcame the desire to push the boy away from her. Your legs, you shouldn't have crippled yourself so much. Well, you shouldn't worry, Naruto continued, smiling out of the corner of his lips. You'll see, tomorrow I'll be cheerful. Realizing that this way he does not cause much discomfort to the girl, the blonde tried to pull away, but there was no result. The brunette's grip was strong and she herself did not want to let go of the young Namikaze. Itachi-san, I'm fine, you can let go. No, you can't even stand, muttered Uchiha, finally loosening her grip. I'm glad you're so worried about me, but I think standing here until the night is not the best idea, and anyway, you're not able to walk right now. Having freed the blonde from captivity, the girl, squatting down and turning her back to the boy, said, "Climb like a teacher, I have to take care of the student." Well, as if, Naruto, don't argue. The brunette spoke menacingly, not deciding to continue the dialogue further. I'll have to obey. Anyway, with these legs, I can't get far. And I don't want to crawl like a worm on the ground. Sitting comfortably on the girl's back and not grabbing her shoulders too much, the blonde was able to relax. Having taken a standing position, the girl already wanted to use Shunshin, when suddenly, Itachi-san, having attracted the girl's attention to himself, the blonde said with a half-smile. Thanks. What he heard and saw, for a moment, brought the ANBU fighter out of the rut. The innocent smile of the boy, for some reason, seemed to her something beautiful and fascinating. And the rapidly pounding heart surprised her at all. Regaining her composure, she blushed for a second and hurried to turn away. It's my duty. Uchiha muttered in a slightly trembling voice, making a sharp leap forward. Sighing often, she was already on the run, turning this moment in her head, all remembering that very passage. And after all, she understood that she would not soon forget this smile on the face of the blonde Jinchuriki. Naruto jumped up on the bed as if stung and armed himself with a pillow. The noise was as if a rabid gorilla was breaking into the door. Naruto, come, you're late for the academy, Hana said with a loud voice, pounding the door furiously with her hand. God, years pass, and accordingly something should change, but not with Hana, the blonde man muttered with a tired yawn. As soon as the elder Namikaze finally calmed down, Naruto, getting up from his bed, automatically reached for a set of clean and ironed clothes, consisting of dark pants and a blue shirt with a slightly high collar. Wearing a kind of jacket on top of him, the boy, crunching his neck a couple of times, looked at his reflection. Well, as they say, go ahead and sing. The front door opened with a plaintive creak, and the boy, sighing heavily, headed towards the kitchen. The smell of fresh coffee momentarily knocked out of him all the remaining drowsiness and gave him a cheerful charge for the whole day. You know, Naruto, if you almost overslept on the first day of the academies, then I'm afraid to imagine what will happen to you next. Hana asked, already emptying a bowl of rice. Don't worry, because in addition to the usual alarm clock, there is a beloved sister whose voice will wake up even the deaf." Having said these words with malice, the young man sat down opposite his sister. I'll take it as a compliment. Surprisingly, you are not nervous. It's even strange, because even I was somehow uncomfortable at your age. Mysteriously glancing at the younger, Hana smiled. Although, the son of Yondaime should be just like that. Tc. Don't remind me, the academy probably won't let me step normally now. Darkness, but it was not necessary to make a remark to Irika-sensei during the entrance exam, and in general, you passed the exams for the highest ball, thereby attracting even more attention to your person, so little brother, you were officially recognized as a nerd, arrogant son of Hokage, hehe. The red-haired woman laughed, almost spilling coffee. God forbid, and how do you know all this? Well, I have my own methods. Hana said with a foxy smile, emptying her coffee mug. We have about 20 minutes left, so we won't be late. I hope you have collected your satchel and everything you need. PF, still asking, muttered Naruto, pulling out of his pocket a small scroll with an unusual seal. Having directed a portion of his chakra into the scroll, it instantly burst in a cloud of smoke, and when it dissipated, the young man held a medium-sized briefcase in his hands, in the center of which was the sign of the Uzumaki clan. Yeah, I knew it was a bad idea to teach you Fuinjutsu. You spend scrolls on such nonsense. What can I do? My mother allowed it, and my father surprisingly did not mind. So accept it, sister, because, no matter how, in this regard, I turned out to be much better than you. Naruto grinned, proudly crossing his arms. From which Hana, falsely smiling, said, "Ho, bragging won't do you any good, brother. But even so, it takes a week to learn how to seal objects. You scare me with moments. A minor genius, at this rate you will soon become the second Itachi," stated Hana, looking at the blonde man who has grown up over these 2 years. The blue pupils became even lighter, and it seemed as if they were made of glass. And the wheat-colored hair looked more like Minato's current hairstyle every year. Kunoichi wondered if her father was sitting across from her. Grinning at her thoughts, Hana closed her eyes for a second, knowing that her father could not have such a warm and innocent character. Hey, Hana, hey, she returned to reality when she heard the call of the younger Namikaze, who was pulling her hand at that time. Stop sleeping, let's go already. Sealing the backpack back into the scroll, Naruto boldly stomped towards the front door. The one with whom he shares his bonds will be lucky. Hana said with a slight smile on her face. Or not. A deep sigh, and the lungs are filled with fresh air, and the aroma of various flowers that grow in our family garden hits the nose. Konoha, such a peaceful and calm, as if a separate part of this world, where the echoes of the world's evil cannot penetrate. But as it usually happens, everything ends sooner or later. After all, as they say, devils are found in a quiet pool. After all, in the world of shinobi, this proverb plays an important role. You never know who will strike. An enemy? Or your own friend? Okay, let's stop philosophizing for now. And let's get back to the current affairs. I will have to study at the academy for a long 4 years, well, if there is an exception like Itachi, who graduated from it at the age of 10, then I can also try. And, probably, Minato himself will want to turn things around so that my training ends faster. After all, for the weapons of the village, such trifles are needed only for show. The primary task is to teach me how to curb the beast inside me, and that's it. And then, like a nuclear bomb, they will be sent to neighboring villages, or, the devil knows. Such a father. He probably doesn't understand himself that the demon can simply get out of control at one moment, and then no one will help him, not this village. Well, okay, so far I don't really care, because controlling me, even with the help of the Yamanaka clan's abilities, is still a hemorrhoid. The player's mind and the fox's chakra will simply repel them. Listen to the Khan, passing by Ichiraku, and waving a pen to Ayama and Tuchi, I asked. Will they follow me at the academies too? There was an awkward silence, and only the noise of passing citizens shattered the entire silence. I knew the answer in advance, and it would be stupid not to guess about it, since Minato first picked up Itachi for my training with chakra. As a mentor and observer, it will probably be the same in academies. After all, my abilities are quite dangerous, especially after merging my chakra with the fox's power. I'm sorry, nothing, and I don't mind myself, being the son of Yondaime. In fact, I should always be under supervision. So, that's fine. Well, I thought you would start a scandal, fighting for your freedom. Has he really grown up? No, it's just that one good person told me that a real shinobi always walks with his head held high, despite the dangers that await him. Well, that's about what Itachi said. Just at that moment the fireball flying at me did not allow me to listen to her normally. During her training, she caught me at such moments more than once and showed me every time that being distracted during a fight is 100% death. I'm even afraid to imagine who told you that, although, however, it doesn't matter. Talking about all possible topics, Hannah and I did not notice how we reached the academies, where a huge number of kids and their parents had already gathered. Yeah, here they are, future shinobi, future cannon fodder during intrigues between villages. Although, it doesn't matter, I need to go to my group, where the children of the great clans and the so-called elite are gathered. That is, children whose CHSV is higher than the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Well, Naruto, you are taking the first steps towards becoming a shinobi. Having said this with a kind smile, Hannah, ruffling my hair, gave me a thumbs up. I'm sure you can handle it. Your brother is the genius of the Namikaze family, of course I can handle it. With the same smile, giving her a thumbs up, I turned away from her and stomped to my group. I know my words sounded like nonsense, but who will pay attention to my baby talk? Genius, well, let's see. Looking at Hannah again, I wasn't too surprised that she was still standing there and waving at me. Over these 2 years, her attitude towards me has become even warmer. I don't know why, but I think it's good rather than bad. After all, it's rare for anyone to have such a sweet sister, even if she also partially sees a demon in me. One of the important events took place in Konoha today. The younger generation has finally entered the academy and soon, it is expected to be replenished in the ranks of shinobi, those who will inherit the will of fire and will defend their village to the very end. A crowd of children and their parents gathered near the academies, who, arriving in a good mood, talked to each other. The children were collected and behaved quite seriously, not clowning around as they did before admission. Instructors ran back and forth in a panic, checking if everything was fine, if everything was going according to plan, and every time they could at least take a minute break, their peace was destroyed by clan children, with their various requests and whims. That's why they were clan, growing up in luxury and comfort with servants, they simply could not stand and wait in silence. At one point, a silhouette appeared outside the gates of the academies and another child entered the ninja academy passed through them. In an instant, for some reason, most turned their attention to the child, but when they saw the face of the incoming, a lump froze in everyone's throat. Everyone who had been making noise and frolicking before became quiet, because only a fool would not have recognized the face of the son of Yondaime and the vessel of the dangerous demon that was sealed in it. The owner of the sun-colored hair just grunted and walked past them, not paying attention to this expected reaction that, I can drive people away if they rebel. Naruto whispered with a slight smile on his face. And where are you, clan kids? Blue eyes quickly ran through all the guests, stopped at a group of children who were already attracting attention from afar. They were standing near a huge oak tree and for some reason they were the only ones who did not pay attention to it. With his hands in his pocket, the younger Namikaze strode towards them, willingly listening to every whisper that was heard behind him. This is him, Yondaime's son, the Kubi vessel, the voices poured in with a general hum and each caustic comment had to bring the blonde at some point, but he only smiled even wider and continued on his way to, I forgot to add, years pass, many things change, but apart from the character of Hana and the relations in the village, they will never change. Finally, reaching the destination, Naruto realized that people had revived again, began to discuss something noisily, ignoring the Jinchuriki. And here they are, the kids from the great clans. So who do we have here? Hinata Hyuga, a miniature girl and the so-called ice princess dressed in a rich white yukata. The heiress of her clan, the owner of the Byakugan, and everything seems to be. Well, okay, everything is clear with her. The daughter of her father, you can't say anything. Not a single emotion, just predatory eyes that look straight into the soul. Let's move on. Nara Shikamaru, from the Nara clan, the brains of our village, and their heir is a goofball, lazy and skillful actor with a mask behind which he hides. But the kid is smart. I noticed this even in the entrance exams. At the request of Nara, he could get the highest score. But as they say, it's none of my business why he behaves like that. So, let's continue. Ino Yamanaka, well, here's a couple of words. She doesn't recognize anyone, and she's still a bitch with a cute face. Who else? But yes, Kiba Inuzuka, a special case. A brawler and a bully, whom the white world has not seen yet, but his clan is quite interesting, the best bloodhounds and censors in the village. Oops. Uchiha, those jet black hair and self-confident look, I always recognize. Especially this representative. Uchiha is his mother Sasuke. It would seem, what kind of new name? Well, the heir of the clan and Itachi's younger brother. I have not personally crossed paths with him, but I met him once when Itachi invited me to her estate for a special training. There he saw some blonde guy who was hanging around her sister and misunderstood, began to sharpen his grudge against me. In short, it's still a headache, but what can we do? We'll have to put up with each other all these years, although I have no complaints about him. I'm not interested in this brunette. Hey, son Hokage, why are you staring at me like that? Sasuke proudly voiced, crossing his arms. A clear provocation and a future conflict is guaranteed if I do not give an answer that will not come out sideways for both of us. At that moment, all those whom I have listed stared at us and began to wait for my answer. By God, did you come to the circus? Are they expecting aggression? It's quite likely that I'm like no other demon, but Sasuke, maybe it's not worth it. He's the son of Hokage. A red-haired girl with oval glasses timidly raised her voice. Yeah, Uzumaki, only our clan can have this hair. Well, cousin, it's still a problem to teach a fool, you can be stupid yourself. Ho, and what? I just asked why he was staring at me like that. Maybe he's one of these? The whisper again swept through our circle of clan kids, not foreshadowing anything good. Well, Sasuke, pulling a smile like a contented cat, I calmly continued, if you were as cute as Itachi, then maybe you would have chances, and so. I'm not interested in you. Ha. I stepped on the patient, looking at his distorted face. Itachi, it seems over these 2 years, your little brother has completely forgotten about sisterly love and now blames me for it. Well, as you said, don't pay attention, and it will go away by itself. I hope it was about Sasuke. How dare you? He clenched his fists, and the veins on his temples swelled. Funny, the mention of his little sister in this light, completely knocked his brains out. As they say, I'm not going to share. Well, that's about what he wants to convey to me. Oh, is Makak planned? Giggled Kiba, sitting on a branch of an oak tree, and looking down at us. Idiots. Hinata commented, casting a disinterested glance in our direction. Agree, Hinata-heim. Oh, I forgot about this long-haired one. Niji seems to be the girl's bodyguard and he comes from a side branch, that is, from a branch of slaves who serve the main branch. That's the right thing to do. It's not surprising that he's always hanging out with this girl and agrees with her in everything, but it's a pity. I've seen his stats. He's strong, but just not here, or else you'll drag us into it. I don't want to ruin my reputation. The Yamanaka heiress hissed like a snake, with a smug expression on her face. Boring. Nara threw, slowly walking away somewhere. Sasuke-kun, Naruto-san, you shouldn't fight. Once again, my cousin, whose name is unknown to me, decides to reconcile us. In general, I don't care about it somehow. I don't intend to get my hand dirty about it, and then we'll have problems. These Uchiha are still vindictive. And Itachi won't pat me on the head if I cripple his little brother. This is taking too long. Blame Uchiha, I didn't mean to offend you. The world? With these words, I stretched out my hand to him as a sign of reconciliation. He won't accept it. I'm sure. Pride won't allow it. The dark-haired man snorted, turned away from me and went wherever his eyes looked. Does he know that the instructor is already following us? No? I don't care. Well, I tried. Grinning, I glanced at my cousin. By the way, what's your name? You're from Uzumaki, right? Why yes, Naruto-san. I'm Uzumaki Karen, glad to meet you. The girl introduced herself, making a bow as a sign of respect. Shoulder-length red hair, nice facial features and glasses. Well, just a fetish dream, obsessed with cute girls in glasses. I'm glad too. It's strange I haven't seen you here before. My family and I just recently moved to Konoha. Oh, that explains it all. Well, cousin, if you need help, contact us. Cousin? Karen was surprised, looking at me questioningly. Well, technically I'm Namikaze. That's just for the most part. I'm Uzumaki. I know that my hair is a joint, but my mother is from the main branch of the Uzumaki clan. Scratching the back of my head, I let myself smile. So here, I hope you understand. Yes, Naruto-san. Thank you for your suggestion. If you also need help, please contact us. Adjusting her glasses, Karen also smiled out of the corner of her lips. So children, everyone gather, the opening will begin in a minute. The instructor notified us, immediately leaving for another group. 4 years, and then the life of a shinobi. Yeah, it feels to me that this and the next year of study will not pass quietly. But who cares? After all, I won't stay here for a long time anyway, and for this we'll see what the school life of juvenile murderers is like. After the end of the ceremonies, the instructors, taking their group of children, stomped into their classrooms. First came Class A, which consisted of clan kids and just children whose parents had a high status in the village. The teacher of this class, after long checks and several portions of mental bookmarks, was chosen by Yumano Irika. An experienced chunin and a qualified teacher, at the sight of his students, stood rooted to the spot, looking at them, while the children just sat in their seats, also silently looking at him. The man, looking from one child to another, tried with all his might not to show his fear and wanted to calm the trembling in his knees as soon as possible. If any misfortune happened to one of these kids because of his fault, Yumano understood that he would answer with his head, literally, taking a deep breath and swallowing the lump that stood in his throat. Irika took a step forward with a serious voice and said, "From now on, I will be your homeroom teacher." After a short pause, Chunin continued, ignoring the whispers from the back rows. "My name is Yumano Irika." Loudly shouting his name and giving a couple of seconds for the students to remember him, the shinobi with an even louder voice said, "I am sure that in the future each of you will become a great shinobi and justify the hopes of your clan and parents." Hearing the latter, a blue-eyed blonde man sitting at the end of the class grinned inappropriately and let out a not loud laugh. Justification of hopes? He whispered, throwing his head back. I wonder if my father had any thoughts other than the presence of a trained Jinchuriki in his ranks? And although I don't care. Having returned his attention to what is happening, Naruto, not paying any more attention to the fervent speeches of the teacher, began to inspect the room where he will study for the next few years. The interior of the classroom was quite nice and rich in its own way. Perfect cleanliness and convenience, there were no flaws or anything like that, everything was licked and prepared to the maximum. And now, I will call one student here, and he will tell me his name, what he likes and what he doesn't. After all, you will all study together for another 4 years. With a barely strained smile, Yumino through his eyes slightly narrowed. Let's start with the first row. Irika's gaze stopped on a red-haired girl with glasses, who, as if understanding the hint, approached him, and then proudly looked at the whole class, began to speak. My name is Uzumaki Karen. I like a lot of things, and if you go into details, the rest will not have enough time to introduce themselves. So, brand adjusting her glasses, the girl continued with a kind smile. I will be glad to make friends with all of you. Very good, Karen-chan. You can sit back in your seat. Irika sighed calmly, surprised by such a warm character of the girl, and thinking, maybe not everything is so bad. Ahem, I follow. Kiba Inazuka, the scion of the Inazuka clan, suddenly spoke from his seat, looking at the teacher with a smug look. I love meat, I don't like weaklings and whiners. Being friends with me is a bit of a bad idea, so, you're on your own, and I'm on my own. Having finished with the introduction, Kiba abruptly fell silent, stroking his little puppy on the head, which at that time was sitting on top of his head. Okay, Kiba-kun. The teacher said softly, noting that the student did not show proper respect and was not even honored to get up from his seat. But he did not want to say something against the son of one of the most dangerous women of Konoha. Well, let's go on. Then everything went according to the old hurdy-gurdy. The children came out one by one and introduced themselves to the class, forcing Irika to become more and more gloomy each time. He especially drooped when it was the turn of the last student, namely the boy because of whom he screwed up during the entrance exams. Well, it's my turn, said the younger Namikaze, walking towards Irika. When he reached the destination, he looked at him with a kind of smirk, immediately turned to the class. My name is Namikaze Naruto. Anyone who wants to know more about me, let him come himself. Having said this, the blond man, with his hands in his pocket, hurried to his place, not paying attention to the whispers among the students, who were looking at him askance, discussing what the son of Yondaime had said. The blonde didn't really want to make friends with someone or the like, and after thinking about it, he decided that if anyone wanted to have some kind of connection with him, they would go to him themselves. The school day was coming to an end, and after getting to know everyone, the children, now having found an interlocutor, were talking about something. Irika himself, sitting at his desk, only watched the students, because there were only 5 minutes left until the end of the school day and he wanted to bring his shattered nerves back to normal. Sighing heavily, he looked around the classroom again, and stopped at the blonde, who was looking towards the window with a bored look. The boy was the only one who sat alone and did not talk to anyone, and the kids themselves were in no hurry to approach him. But he didn't care, as such he didn't consider Naruto a child, knowing who was sitting inside him. The boy aroused mostly dislike and even hatred from Yumino, but he restrained himself and did not want to cross eyes with him once again, simply ignoring him. Looking at the clock that hung near the front door, Irika got up from his seat, first clapped his hands a couple of times, attracting the attention of future shinobi to himself, and raising his voice, said, Today's day at the academies is coming to an end. Tomorrow at 9 in the morning I'm waiting for you all in this class. Have a nice day. With a slight bow, the man hurried out of the room, closing the door behind him. All the children began to gather slowly, including Naruto, who in an instant sealed all his belongings in a scroll, slowly stomped to the door, catching the surprised and puzzled looks of his classmates. That's. A boyish voice began. Sealing technique, finished the second voice, which, if the blonde's hearing was not mistaken, belonged to Hyuga Niji. Finally coming out of the academies, the younger Namikaze saw a bunch of parents or clan servants who were taking their children home. He knew that they would not come for him, as he himself told Hana not to pick him up, referring to the fact that after the academies he would take a little walk around the village. But there were always personal guards or ANBU observers hanging around somewhere nearby, whom Minato picked up in order to keep an eye on Jinchuriki. And Naruto had known about this for a long time. The Fox chakra, which merged with his chakra year after year, made him quite sensitive in terms of sensorics. And the ANBU themselves did not hide their energy very much. I think that the child will not notice them anyway. As if by chance looking towards the tree where one of the observers was sitting, the kid snorted and continued walking. Yeah, relax, would-be observers. The young man said, looking at the blue sky. It would be necessary to drop into Ichiraku. With such thoughts, Naruto was about to continue his journey, when someone's hand timidly touched his shoulder. Naruto-san. I'm sorry that so suddenly, Karen. Calmly reacting to the appearance of a relative, Namikaze, without expecting it, admired his interlocutor, who, a little embarrassed, wanted to say something, but stubbornly prevented herself from doing so. In general, she began again, but again she faltered. Is something wrong? Although the girl's behavior was touching, but the blonde did not really want to linger on the territory of the academy. Sorry for such a request, but could you show me Konoha, since I just moved a week ago, and my father and mother are too busy. Finally gathering herself together and calmly saying all this, the girl hoped for a positive answer. Naruto didn't answer right away, as if thinking about something that made Karen feel uncomfortable. If you don't want to, then I will understand. Having said this with some sadness, the representative of the Uzumaki clan wanted to leave, when suddenly, wait, I don't mind. And I haven't walked around Konoha for a long time, let's go. With a slight smile, after giving his consent, Namikaze beckoned Karen to follow him. Thank you, Naruto-san. Overjoyed, the red-haired girl was amused, catching up with the blonde. And yes, Karen, this officiousness aside. The boy said in a rather serious tone, glancing at the girl walking beside him out of the corner of his eye. We seem to be the same age, and what, no, relatives. After thinking a little and smiling, she nodded. Then, just, Naruto-kun, well, why not? The blonde man replied, scratching his head. Well, let's start with Central Park. Taking the hand that took Karen by surprise, the younger Namikaze accelerated his pace with a satisfied face, walking towards a huge park. A couple of hours later. It was, quite interesting, Naruto-kun, I've never seen Sakura before, beautiful trees. Karen said, adjusting her glasses. Yes, and I wouldn't have thought that Konoha has them. Our Hokage, after the death of the third, tried with all his might to raise Konoha from his knees and make it one of the greatest villages. Naruto said calmly, walking beside Karen, who was listening to him with interest. As you can see, he's doing very well with this. Lord Fourth is truly incredible. After that terrible incident, he was able to save the village and defeat the demon. Is he so praised outside the village? Well. And then? Minato-san is an idol and an example for many shinobi. He is revered and respected as a strong and wise man. Karen chattered excitedly with unhealthy sparks in her eyes. And that's true. Naruto smiled bitterly, knowing the true nature of his father. By the way, Karen, aren't you hungry? The boy asked the question, looking at his relative. No, what are you? But the treacherous rumbling in the stomach made it clear that this was not true. So, if you don't mind, let's go to a nice place. It's not far from here. Good. Having given up without a fight, Karen had to speed up to catch up with her new acquaintance and even, maybe, a friend. After a couple of minutes, having come to Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto comfortably sat down with a classmate, said in a cheerful voice, Tuchi-san, I am Chan, to me as always, and for this young lady. After looking at her, and receiving a simple nod in response, he immediately continued to order. The same as me. Of course, my boy. Sue a minute. The voice of the cook and the owner of the best noodle shop in Konoha was heard. Wow Naruto, are you with a friend? I am asked with a soft smile. What is the name of this cute girl, Uzumaki Karen? The red-haired woman introduced herself uncertainly, breathing fast. Nice to meet I am San, yes, I am. Seeing the surprised face of the cook's daughter, Naruto grinned. I show my relative all the charms of Konoha, and what kind of fool would I be if I didn't show her this place? Well, what are you Naruto-kun? I hope you will visit us often. I'll try. The blonde man calmly replied, waiting for his order. Me too. Karen said timidly, too nervous. 5 minutes later, the order was ready and 2 medium portions of ramen were placed right in front of the guests. The smell beckoned to taste this wonderful food, and the view was simply beyond praise. Well, bon appetit. Taking 2 wooden sticks, the blue-eyed man began to devour the ramen. The future kunoichi also took the chopsticks and repeated after the blonde, trying such food for the first time. How delicious, the girl whispered softly, eating noodles with pleasure. Seeing such a reaction from his distant relative, Naruto allowed himself to smile, because when he tried it for the first time with Hana, he had about the same face. Although he tried to hide that momentary joy in a short time, having finished with a kind of dinner that was at the expense of the establishment, Naruto and Karen decided to leave the noodle shop, talking about something. Thank you for today, Naruto-kun. I've learned a lot thanks to you. Karen thanked him with a slight smile on her face. Yes, no problem, Naruto replied calmly and to some extent indifferently, walking with his eyes through various buildings and structures. You're heading to the Uzumaki quarter right now, aren't you? Why yes. Well, that's good, because your quarter is as close as possible to the Yondaime domain. And I haven't been there for a long time. Having finished the dialogue and spent most of the way in silence, Naruto went deep into himself. Today was quite an unusual day. Without training or something like that. A quiet day, as in fact a child should have, but not in the case of a blonde. And now, thinking what was going on with his, albeit repeated childhood, Namikaze grunted, kicked the stone that lay in his path. And did I want to talk about this life? He suddenly asked, not noticing the figure that blocked their way. Ho, you're cooing, I see, Mr. Namikaze. A boy in a gray hood and with a small puppy sitting on top of his head asked maliciously. Kiba-kun? Karen was alarmed, stopping abruptly. It's strange, Karen, the dogman's eyes flashed with a scarlet light. I thought you'd been home for a long time, because you yourself said that you had to hurry when I suggested that you walk around Konoha. And as it seems, someone deceived me so well. Inuzuka finished his sentence with some kind of threat and bared his teeth. I just, I get it, I see. No matter how, he is Namikaze Naruto, the son of Lord Fourth. Kiba continued to babble in a mocking tone, grinning even wider. Idiot, as long as these ANBU don't take him as a threat. We need to settle everything quickly. And what's wrong with that? If she refused, it means her right. What's the problem then? The blonde man joined the conversation in a calm voice, blocking his cousin with himself. No, there's nothing. Surprisingly, without snapping back, the kid continued without delay. I apologize for the trouble. Quickly giving up and regaining his composure, Inuzuka walked past the blonde, noticing out of the corner of his eye an abnormal scarlet pupil in his left eye socket that was looking in his direction. What is this? Arriving in mute shock, Kiba quickly calmed the trembling in his body, quickly left, still not moving away from what he saw. Well, let's go Karen, it will be dark soon. Putting his hands back in his pocket, Namikaze calmly stomped, while a mysterious smile played on his face, and the scarlet pupil disappeared without a trace, returning to its original, bright blue color. Cap. Cap. Wow. I'm here again, the blond man said, not loudly, being in a huge dark room, where the usual sound of dripping water from rusty pipes that were located right on the ceiling could be heard. After looking back a couple of times, Naruto took a deep breath and stepped forward, splashing water, which only increased after the first contact with this place. The boy did not have to walk for a long time, and after walking a few meters, he stood close to a huge lattice, the height of which reached more than 100 meters. The young man knew who was on the other side of the cage, even if he had seen him only once in all this time. He still remembered what kind of beast was sitting there. Suddenly, the floor under the boy's feet began to shake, and the water changed color, becoming darker. The younger Namikaze reacted quite calmly to this anomaly, because the boy had seen such a picture more than once. Man, because of the loud roar that rang out, Naruto was confused for a second, but regaining his composure, he raised his head and met two vertical blood-colored pupils that looked at him from the darkness: hatred, anger, pain, irritation, rage, aggression, horror and death. All this was reflected in these huge eyes, from which the young blonde for a moment remembered his past life. Without clenching his fists too much and taking a sufficient amount of air into his lungs, Naruto began to speak, calmly and without showing fear. I'm glad to see you too, Kyubi. This was the trigger, after which the bulky paw of the beast crashed into the iron cage, from which the whole area trembled. The water at this time was completely black as ink. Impudent boy, why are you here? Another growl followed, in which there was a clear threat. I'm sorry, but if it's any consolation, I'm not here on my own. The blond man replied with a grin, seeing how the animal's paw was sticking through the bars, trying to get him. But the seal was firmly held by the beast, and the hand that was outside the grid was cut off at the same moment by an unknown force. Pitch-black blood gushed out in a fountain, hitting some of its part, the blonde's pants. Do you really hate me so much? Squinting his eyebrows, Namikaze began to recall his first meeting with the demon. Then he saw only his eyes, filled with rage mixed with malice. But then it was enough for him to wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Little creature, you disgust me, a disgusting shell in which I am sealed for the rest of my days. Die, ignoring the lost paw, which was already healing a little, Kyubi growled. I'm sick of your presence, your soul, so much darkness, you stink. You are a dead man who has not known peace. You'd better die, it's funny to hear that from you. Smiling out of the corner of his lips, the blond man bared his teeth. But you won't let me die, will you? After all, if I die, you will die. It will be bad for me, it will be bad for you. We will always share the same fate, for two. Another blow went through the bars, and finally coming out of the darkness, the beast in full form showed itself. Bastard, where did you come from? You're not him. A completely different person, another soul. Who are you? Answer me. A huge fox, with black fur and 9 tails behind his back, with a wild grin looked in the direction of his Jinchuriki. I'm Namikaze Naruto. Your Jinchuriki, have you really forgotten, Kyubi? With a grin on his face, answering the question, the blonde slowly examined the fox, which had a rather unusual coat color. Lies. A lie. A lie. The fox kept talking and growling, emitting a thirst for blood. I will never recognize you. A parasite that has occupied someone else's body. You will die, you will die, you will die. The fox was prevented from speaking further by a golden chain that appeared out of nowhere, which enveloped the beast's neck and began to squeeze it hard. Shut up, your voice is already making my ears wither. The blond man said, seeing how Kyubi was wheezing, trying to free himself from the chain. I don't really care about your confession. A couple more golden chains appeared, and now the fox was completely enveloped in them and shackled, unable to move. Naruto, seeing how the proud demon was lying on the ground, slowly walked towards him. You are just an unbridled force, a clot of chakra, which I will soon receive. Standing directly in front of his muzzle, Namikaze added. So don't worry, soon you will be completely a part of me. Goodbye. QB. Having finished speaking, the kid disappeared at the same moment, not forgetting to remove the chains that bound the fox. What kind of attack? This brat, nothing, I'll wait, death will still follow you on your heels, and I'll just wait for the right moment. I'll make you suffer. The fox's eyes slowly closed, and the room where he was became even darker. Wrapped in its tails, the nine-tailed one let out a barely audible growl, after which it completely quieted down, sleeping in your own bed. HP/chakra restored. All negative effects are removed. The blonde man woke up somewhat out of sorts. But the second meeting with the fox, to some extent, pleased him. As they say, you need to know the enemy by sight. And Naruto was still able to see the demon sitting inside him. Yawning wearily and reaching for his clothes, the young man pondered today. A day of practice will be held at the academies today. That is, while stupid lectures from Iruki-sensei that have already lasted for about 2 months, hello to throwing shurikens and sparring. The young man was really waiting for the latter, because he wanted to know how much his skills in taijutsu had increased over the past 2 years. After all, no matter how, Itachi helped him well in this, spending training sparring with him from time to time. From the entire list of students in his class, Junior Namikaze noticed a few kids with whom he would not mind brushing off. Especially with Hugo, because he had a miracle of eyes called Byakugan, and Naruto really hoped to get away with him somehow. Although, at the same time, the blonde did not want to have his tenketsu knocked out. After all, this clan had its own style in taijutsu, the name of which is Juken, or inhuman, soft fist. After doing all the morning manipulations and having a hearty breakfast, Naruto left the house and slowly walked towards the academy. This time he chose a different route, which passed through the Uzumaki clan quarter. Looking at everything that caught his eye and, accidentally, not paying attention to the individual who was quietly sneaking up behind him. Morning, Naruto-kun. Raising her voice, the red-haired girl said, suddenly appearing behind the blonde. Making a puzzled look, Namikaze looked in the direction of the violator of silence. Oh, Karen, good morning. Who, cousin, aren't you even surprised? The girl said dejectedly, walking beside the boy. Well, maybe the very first time you caught me off guard, but now you need to come up with something new. What a fastidious relative I have. Sighing sadly and adjusting her glasses, Karen decided to continue the conversation. By the way, today is practice day, for once. Otherwise, if it wasn't for the pressure of the Uchi clan, we would have continued to listen to boring lectures by Iruki-sensei. And why are we being shielded from all this? After all, parallel classes have long passed through this stage. You haven't figured it out yet? A negative nod in response was not long in coming. The heirs of clans or children with high-ranking parents study in Class A. It is not surprising that we are protected from any kind of dangers. But this is wrong. The girl was indignant, clenching her fists. How will we become real shinobi then, if even now? Karen, don't make a noise, you're attracting too much attention. The young man whispered, interrupting his girlfriend, from which she was slightly embarrassed at the same moment fell silent. I understand the course of your thoughts, but you can't change anything. The heirs of the clan have always been protected as the apple of their eye. Their death can have a bad effect on the clan, because the pure blood line of the clan can simply end. That's the way things are. The couple reached the academies in complete silence, only occasionally exchanging phrases. Entering his classroom and meeting the eyes of other students on him, Naruto just waved his hand and went to his place. noting that over these months his relationship with his students has been quite tense, except, hey, Namikaze, morning. After wearily greeting the blonde, the heir of the Nara clan yawned and looked at him. You too, Shikamaru. Today, as I understand it, you will not be able to sleep. The kid grinned, sitting down next to the dark-haired boy. And don't tell me, everything was so good until this Uchiha thought of ruining everything. Iruki-sensei's lectures were a good lullaby. Smiling dreamily, Shikamaru looked around the classroom. By the way, Naruto, why are a good half of our scythe boys looking at you? The answer is sitting on the first desk, to the left of Hinata. The young man said calmly, taking out his school supplies. Karen? It's clear, can you say that you are relatives? The boy suggested, crossing his arms. No need, I don't give a damn about it myself from a high mountain. Are you sure? I don't really like Kiba's look. He's definitely got a grudge against you. Shikamaru, is it me, or have you become too talkative? Naruto said, with a fox smile on his face. Hinting to his friend to finally shut up. Your truth, I'll rest while I have time. Please wake me up when all this practice starts. With these words, Nara yawned again, put his head on the desk and began to snore softly. Yeah, briefly giving an answer, Naruto glanced in the direction of Kiba, who had an unkind smile on his face. Ahem. So children, now the lesson on throwing shurikens at the set targets will begin. Your main task is to hit the target as often as possible. After conducting a small instruction and handing out 10 stars to each child, Iruka himself took a couple and began to show how to throw them. Naruto smiled slightly, remembering his training in this business and what an incredible trick Itachi taught him. He was especially surprised how she could arbitrarily change the trajectory of the asterisk, giving it rotation in several planes, which made the potential enemy think that Kunoichi would miss, but the weapon flew from the side, and the enemy did not have time to do anything. Returning to reality from his thoughts, the blond man saw a wooden target in the form of a human model that stood 10 meters away from the students, waiting for his fate. Well, I hope you understand everything. Let's get started. The first one started throwing to the princess of the Yamanaka clan, and Naruto was surprised to see that out of 10 attempts, 8 were successful. It was a very good result for the child. Very well, Ino-chan, you can rest. With a smug grin, the blonde sat down on the bench looking at the others from a high position. All right. Next, then Hyuga Niji performed, and with deft hand movements, the dark-haired man hit the target all 10 times, making the whole class surprised. Probably only Hinata showed wild indifference to this. The next speaker was Sasuke, and then Karen and Kiba, who, although they showed a good result, were simply destroyed. Shikamaru. With one eye closed, the kid, lazily throwing each shuriken, hit exactly the target. Boredom, yawning and wishing good luck to his blonde friend, Nara also sat down on the nearest bench. Namikaze Naruto, it's your turn. Iruko stated, glancing at his notebook. Yes, as you say. Twisting the star with his index finger, the young man stood in front of the target. Having conveniently placed 5 shurikens in both hands, the boy, breathing freely, first threw 3 stars on one note, which, accompanied by the wind, flew directly into the chest part of the target. Not letting them get in ahead of time, Namikaze threw 2 more stars after them. With the same speed, they flew after the first 3 thrown, crashed into them right in the air, slightly changing their trajectory. Now all 5 stars were flying straight into the dummy's head. Seeing such machinations, the students just silently watched, wondering if they would get there or not. Abruptly throwing the remaining 5 shells, Namikaze could only wait for them to hit the target. The first 5, as expected, hit directly into the target's head, plunging deep into them, and the remaining 5 were now sticking out in places where the dummy had arms and legs. The expected surprise froze in the eyes of the clan kids, who now looked at Namikaze not with an irritated look, but with surprise. Break for 5 minutes. Then we'll move on to sparring. Irika stuttered a little, seeing the skills of a trained ANBU fighter. Well, certainly not a child. Namikaze, you amaze me every day. Shikamaru said in a surprisingly cheerful voice, approaching Naruto. Who taught you to throw like that? To change the trajectory of shurikens, it is very difficult to learn this yourself, even impossible. I had a good teacher before entering the academy. The young man replied with a chuckle. I hope this answer will suit, quite. The boy nodded, scratching his head. Naruto-kun, it was amazing. Unexpectedly, Karen appeared unexpectedly, made Shikamaru jump on the spot. I have never seen such a way of throwing shurikens. Thanks, probably. You were not bad either, considering that the indicators of most girls were below average. Hehe, I'm glad I was able to impress you. The girl smiled as if forgetting about the third person standing next to them. Well, guys, I'm going to rest without wasting my well-deserved 5 minutes. Having said that, Nara hurried away his clan will definitely not be lucky with such a head. Karen sighed, looking after the departing brunette. As if not so, Karen, after a 5-minute break, Irika called everyone together and began to conduct the usual sparring instruction. That is, to explain the rules of what can be applied and what not. Well, the first will be Uchiha Sasuke and Hyuga Neji. Remember not to use techniques, only taijutsu. Having warned and freed up space for them, Iruko stood slightly in the middle and gave the command to start the fight. Everyone watched in anticipation as the two talented children exchanged blows, showing all the charms of taijutsu. If Uchiha used various counterattacks, with deceptive strikes, then Hyuga did not disdain to use a soft palm, gradually pushing the brunette back. Deftly bouncing off a direct blow to the chest, the Uchiha turned around and hit Neji with his left foot, but he easily blocked it, got too close to the young Uchiha. After missing 3 important blows to the body and flying back a few meters, Uchiha, holding on to the place where the blow was struck, could not continue the fight. Corny, without getting to his feet. The winner is Hyuga Neji. Please shake hands with each other. As a sign of respect for the opponent, Neji approached Uchiha without question and held out his hand to him. Sasuke himself, after a short pause, responded to the handshake, finally standing on his feet. Ahem, good fight. The brunette admitted, proudly crossing his arms over his chest. Similarly. Hugo answered briefly, with a barely noticeable smile on his face, hurrying back to his friend. Yeah, they're good. Shikamaru commented while scratching his chin. What do you think, Naruto? It's not bad for children from the great clans, although there is something to work on. The blonde man said thoughtfully, seeing the soft palm of the Hyuga clan in action. While the children were whispering and discussing the fight between Sasuke and Neji, Irika scribbled something in his notebook again and started calling the next couple Hyuga Hinata and Uzumaki Karen. After hearing their names, both girls approached the teacher, burning each other with their eyes. Ahem, the rules are the same. And let the fight. Stepping back a little, Yumino waved his hand. It will begin. Both kunoichi sharply rushed to each other, collided in taijutsu. Hinata, taking an example from her cousin, began using juken, while Karen, deftly avoiding blows, tried to counterattack. She understood that if she missed at least one blow, the fight would be lost, and using her agility, the red-haired girl easily dodged every blow. The fight itself lasted at least 2 minutes, when Karen, having caught the moment, put the princess of the Hyuga clan on her shoulder blades, literally wiping her floor. Winner Uzumaki Karen, smiling and knowing what to do next, the girl, approaching Hinata, helped her to her feet. Even if the princess of the clan herself did not radiate such optimism as Uzumaki, but stepping over her arrogance, she accepted help. Next time, I won't lose. The girl said coldly, glaring at her rival. Of course, Hinata-chan. After exchanging phrases, Karen, pleased, not paying attention to the boy in the gray hood, who wanted to say something to her, immediately ran towards the blonde. Not a bad fight. Karen, with a slight grin, Naruto first began praising his girlfriend. It is quite difficult to resist a person who uses the Juken fighting style. You've been trained well oh, if only Naruto-kun. The girl laughed, adjusting her glasses. In fact, I imitated the movements of the taijutsu master, whom I followed in my old place of residence. That is, self-taught. I rely most on agility and speed. The girl smiled awkwardly, tilting her head sideways. Imitation? Huh, you're very interesting, Karen, what? The girl asked a little blushing, but, Namikaze Naruto, Inuzuka Kiba, your exit. Iruka shouted, calling the students to him. And here's my turn, then we'll talk to Karen. Good. The red-haired woman replied, looking at her cousin's back as he left. The younger Namikaze, pulling his hands out of his pocket, was the first to approach the teacher, while Kiba took off his puppy's head and left him in a safe place, also hurried towards Yumino. There was a gambling smile on his face in anticipation of the battle. Finally he could show everything he could to this upstart, putting him in his place. Everything about this boy infuriated him. Kiba knew that in his studies and in throwing shurikens, he was certainly not his equal, having seen his performance today on the training ground. But one thing he knew for sure, in terms of taijutsu, the son of Yondaime is not his equal. Follow the rules and let the fight be fair. Moving away to a safe distance, Iruka did not shout loudly. Let's start. I'll grind you to powder, Namikaze. With these words, Kiba literally rushed at the blonde like an animal. The blue-eyed man finally removed the never-fading smile from his face, standing in a fighting stance, took the first direct hit of the Kiba into the block, and simply jumped aside from the next one. After exchanging a couple of attacks and making a successful counterattack, Naruto forced Kiba to open up, and without wasting time in vain, as well as not letting his opponent come to his senses, the young man, in the blink of an eye, found himself near the dog lover. With a sharp blow, the knee pierces Inuzuka's side, from which he releases all the air from his lungs. Making attempts to shorten the distance, Kiba forgets about protection, misses another blow to the face, and then a direct kick of the foot, which flies straight into the solar plexus. Flying back a few meters and hitting his head on the ground a couple of times, for some time the dogman showed no signs of life. So that's what, the voice from the crowd clearly belonged to Uchiha Sasuke, who was in mute shock from what he saw. He knew and saw what Kiba was capable of, in one of their little skirmishes. His peculiarity has always been animal reflexes and unpredictability. But what did he see now? The fight lasted less than 10 seconds, and the heir of the Inuzuka clan was knocked out. As expected, from the son of Yondaime. Neji said, crossing his arms. Yeah, Naruto, that explains your serenity in front of all these guys, grinned Nara, shaking his head. You are a difficult person, Namikaze. Naruto, you are definitely your father's son. The red-haired girl smiled, seeing the result of the fight, and at this moment, Iruka, who did not have time to understand anything, looked puzzled at Kiba, who was lying motionless, and at the calm Naruto, who finally had that eternal half-smile gone from his face. Kiba Inuzuka was literally beaten up before he could respond to the opponent normally, but it didn't matter anymore. Winner, Namikaze Naru, stop. Inuzuka croaked with a growl in his voice. That's not all. Having got to his feet without any problems, and shaking off the dust from his clothes, Kiba showed his sharp fangs, and continued in a wild grin. I can't lose. The claws on the boy's fingers have slightly lengthened, and the muzzle has become sharper, like a wolf's. Kiba-kun, this is the end. You better not, shut up. Inuzuka growled even louder, looking furiously at the teacher. Not to him. I won't lose, not to you. Shouting these words and getting on all fours, the dogman rushed towards the blonde man at a fast speed. How interesting, Naruto grinned, walking away from the attack trajectories of his, now, opponent. It was no longer a sparring, but a battle. Without hesitating, Kiba again rushed at the blue-eyed, striking lightning strikes, then with his hands, then with his feet. The younger Namikaze only had to dodge the blows of sharp claws. Although he knew that he could not cope without techniques, he did not want to use ninjutsu, especially against a person who, having lost control of emotions, fought on naked instincts to kill him. Suddenly someone whispered in Jinchurika's head, from which he almost missed the blow. "Why don't you hit back, Namikaze?" Kiba growled, speeding up even more. And one of the attacks still managed to scratch the blonde's cheek. "Kill him," the voice literally ordered, and the image of a familiar creature with huge fangs and vertical pupils periodically appeared right before the eyes of the younger Namikaze. For the first time, he didn't understand what was going on. "Kiba-kun, stop!" Irika shouted, running towards the raging student, but it was too late. "You're finished, Hokage boy." Jumping back and assuming a strange pose, Kiba grinned and jumped at the opponent, spinning right in the air. Getsuga. Spinning at great speed, Inuzuka flew like an arrow towards the blonde. "Kill him! Kill him! Kill him!" shouted the voice, and at that moment, jumping back at superhuman speed, Naruto began to fold a series of seals, terribly grinned. And Kiba crashed straight into the ground, quickly regaining consciousness, began searching for the enemy. A system error has been made. The following emotions are enhanced: anger. A system error has been made. The player's mind is damaged. "I'll kill him." The last seal, and Inuzuka finally found an opponent. He wanted to make a second attack by getting into a pose again. The release of fire, a fireball. From Naruto's mouth at the same moment, a stream of flame burst out, taking the form of a huge ball consisting of fire, increasing in size and destroying everything that got in the way. Frozen in mute shock, Kiba, not knowing what to do, looked at the approaching death. Clearly not expecting such an outcome, he was trembling, unable to move. "Am I going to die?" Kiba said in a low voice, only at the last moment noticing three people in a white raincoat who blocked him with themselves. Water release, water breakthrough. The ANBU fighters rammed synchronously, releasing a huge column of water against the fire, which after a couple of seconds crashed into the ball. All the surroundings were in a fog. "We have seen enough. Neutralize and take away." Having said that, the masked trotter stunned the shocked Inuzuka and threw him on his shoulders. At this moment, Naruto was standing inside a thick fog, looking around. The boy's left pupil again assumed a vertical shape and red color. At one point, he only felt the wind behind him and heard a pleasant voice. "Get some rest, little Naruto. You've had enough." Before plunging into darkness, the blonde saw a shinobi in a raven mask. Carefully taking the boy in his arms, the ANBU fighter disappeared into Shunshin. After the fog cleared, Irika will be in a panic looking for two missing students, and the children who saw the fight will remember for a long time what the heir of the Inuzuka clan and the son of Yondaime are capable of. Karen and Shikamaru, having not found their friend after all this confusion, will only continue their search until the evening. Naruto slowly regained consciousness. The last thing he remembered was the usual sparring with Inuzuka, which ended in a real battle. The boy recalled how he used ninjutsu against him with an irresistible desire to finish off the dogman. But the young man knew that it was not his decision, someone or something forced him to do so. That anger and hatred, it was definitely not his feelings and emotions. After a short thought, the blond man opened his eyes. A bright light hit them at the same moment, causing the younger Namikaze to wince from the strong glow. Sighing heavily, he tried to move, but when he saw that his hands and feet were chained to an unusual bed, Naruto dropped the case. The blond man was in a small room with thick concrete walls and an iron door. The only light source in the rooms was a light bulb that hung from the ceiling and seemed about to collapse. Having finally come to his senses, the blue-eyed man only now noticed clean clothes on himself, and electronic devices with strange wires that were connected to his body, emitting an annoying squeak. "Yeah, it's been a fun day. Naruto said with a slight smile, sighing wearily. System, conduct a full check. Namikaze whispered faintly, relaxing, scanning the body. No physical damage was found, there are no mental bookmarks. The psychological state is normal, attention. There is an error, the player's mind function is damaged. The source of the problem has not been detected. In this regard, the protection against mental attacks has been reduced by 45%. Business, what kind of attack is that? Probably this flea-bitten fox is somehow involved in this. With bitterness in his voice, saying this, the boy turned his head sideways, looking at the iron door. I wonder where I am. If you note that I was chained to a bed, in an almost empty room with strange appliances, then I would think that I was in a nut house. Only soft walls are missing. And so, after making a second pause and coming to a conclusion, the young man continued. Apparently, my father imprisoned me here, for the sake of safety. The surge of the Kubi chakra, this is not a joke. Oh ho ho, here he will have problems with the heads of the clan. I don't envy him. From further reflection, he was distracted by the noise of the door opening. A short figure in a white raincoat with a porcelain mask on his face came into the room holding a small tray in his hands. Noticing that Jinchuriki was conscious, the stranger slowly approached him and put the tray on the bedside table. At this time, Namikaze, who was watching all this, lay silently, without making unnecessary movements. And what kind of performance did you put on? A cold female voice rang out from under the raven mask. And I'm wondering why I have such a persistent feeling of déjà vu. Naruto grinned as if he hadn't paid attention to the stranger's words. It's been almost a year, Itachi-san. Wow, the stupid student still managed to guess. With a warmer voice saying these words, the girl carefully removed the mask from her face, looking at the blue-eyed boy with a soft smile. And you have changed, teacher. I don't even know which way. The blond man said with a sly smile. And after all, he was very surprised to see that the dark hair, which once reached only to the shoulder, became even longer and was woven into a ponytail, and the facial features, though slightly changed, making Itachi more mature, but even so, the former charm and comeliness was not lost. I'll take it as a compliment, the girl said with a sad smile, sitting on the edge of the patient's bed. Yes, and you yourself didn't go far. Uchiha noted, looking at the boy's left eye, whose pupil now had a vertical shape and a blood-red color. Well, Itachi-san, what's with the sour face? You're the last person I'd want to see in that light. Namikaze muttered, not radiating his former optimism. Naruto, this is not normal. And it's clear that I'm worried. God only knows how it may all end. Kunoichi frowned, crossing her arms at chest level, which have increased in size over the past years. Okay, let's leave this conversation for later. How is Kiba? Although he considered the dogman to be an impulsive fool who could lose control of himself at the slightest anger, he still remembered that he used a rather dangerous technique against this gouging that could simply burn him, and he was wondering if the heir of the Inuzuka clan was alive. The boy is fine, very shocked, but fine. A team of medics from the Eastern Corps will bring him back to normal and erase everything unnecessary from his memory. It's good that everything worked out. The death of the heir could lead to irreparable mistakes and future problems. The blond man sighed with relief, noticing a strange smile on his teacher's face. Is something wrong? No, I've always been surprised by your serenity. The boy from the Inuzuka clan used a very dangerous technique, and if he managed to reach you, then you wouldn't get off with one hole in your belly. Stroking her chin, the girl added. But, Namikaze Naruto, as always in his repertoire, is worried about the man who almost let his guts out. What are you, Itachi-san? For a moment, the warm aura emanating from the boy abruptly turned cold and began to give off terror, from which the brunette for a moment saw instead of her student, as if a completely different person. This dog could seriously injure me and, worse, even kill me if he continued to dance in his wild dance. This Inuzuka, he disgusts me, I hate this bastard." Without letting him finish, the dark-haired girl at the same moment pressed the blonde to her. "Don't say anything, just be quiet," the girl whispered, pressing the young man even harder. As I thought, Kyuubi's chakra affects his whole essence. In this position, the couple sat for a couple more minutes, in utter silence, which was destroyed by the beeping of electronic devices at times. "Sasuke will definitely not give me life now." Naruto laughed, arbitrarily pulling away from the brunette, who no longer felt that creepy aura. "I'm fine, Itachi-san. Since that's the case, I'd like to feed you." Taking a medium-sized bowl from the tray, which was filled with rice, Itachi said with a sweet smile. "I made it myself, open your mouth. Huh. Itachi-san, I can do it myself. And I think I told you that cooking is not VA, Naruto." The voice sounded again, and although the girl was still smiling good-naturedly, the threatening aura that hung in the air clearly warned the blonde to obey. "Open your mouth, please, it's creepy, but I'll have to obey. After all, as long as my hands and feet are tied, I'm in a helpless position." "Well, you took it." Having opened his mouth and tasted a portion of rice, the young man had to work hard not to be distorted by the strong salty taste. "How do you like it?" Kunoichi asked, glancing at the blonde. "I hope I didn't overdo it with salt, and no, it's very tasty, you obviously tried." "Oh my god, why the fuck is there so much salt?" Hold on, just hold on." The torture of eating lasted for another 5 minutes, until the blonde, who was not sated, decided to refuse the second portion. After washing down all the salty stuff with refreshing water and gradually coming to his senses, Naruto pulled a smile and said, "Thank you for your concern, of course, but it seems to me that you are better able to be a strong kunoichi, not a cook. You didn't like it?" The girl sighed resignedly, thinking what kind of jam she made this time. "If we compare your experience last year, then you have made a big step forward, teacher. But please drop this case," Naruto said without removing the half-smile from his face and hoping that his words would reach the girl. Well, maybe it's really not mine." Itachi agreed quite easily, putting the empty bowl back on the tray. "By the way, will I be released soon? I miss the fresh air. That's the problem, Naruto." The girl said gloomily, carefully choosing her next words. Everything turned out to be much more serious. Evening. Hokage residence. "What do you mean, Minato?" A woman in a jounin outfit and with a short shoulder-length hairstyle growled loudly. "Where is my son? What did you do to him?" "Please calm down, Inuzuka-tsum." A middle-aged man with long dark hair tied in a ponytail spoke up. The man had 2 huge scars on his face, and his brown eyes, exuding calmness, were directed at the raging head of the clan. "Don't interfere, Shikaku. It wasn't your son who was captured by a bunch of umbu and is now being held God knows where. Tsum, sit down," Minato said calmly, finally saying at least something for all these 5 minutes of brainstorming from the head of the Inuzuka clan. "I don't have time for this. Tell me where my son is." Raising her voice even louder, the woman growled, clenching her fist. "Tsum." Suddenly, the head of the clan felt a strong pressure from Minato, from which she almost fell. "Sit down," Namikaze said more irritably, sighing wearily. "Tc. Okay." Sitting on an empty sofa, the woman patiently waited for the words of the Hokage. "Your son is fine, he is in a safe place now, he will be released tomorrow," the man said with a warm smile, tapping his index finger on the table. "So don't worry, the best of Konoha's Ironin are working with him now. I don't care about your Irionins, give me my son, and I'll leave. Will you leave?" In the blink of an eye, being near Tsum and grabbing her by the neck, Minato, under the surprised gaze of Shikaku, began to speak slowly. "Thanks to your offspring, everything went to hell. My son almost suffered because of the wild nature of Inazuki Kiba and unwittingly awakened the beast that sits inside him. Minato kept talking and talking, squeezing the neck of the clan head. Minato. A heavy hand rested on the blond man's shoulder. Don't do anything stupid, so you will solve nothing. The man said, looking hard at his friend. After a short pause, releasing the head of the Inuzuka clan, Minato sat back in his seat and tried to relax. Your son is safe and sound, he will be home tomorrow morning. Now go away. I didn't have to repeat it twice, and feeling the aura of death that emanated from Yondaime, the woman, without testing fate, hurried away at the same moment. Grr, what kind of darkness, first the Hyugas from Yamanaka, messed with my brains, and now Inuzuka still. Only Uchi is missing, for full paint. What are you going to do? They will obviously hold a grudge against you, due to the fact that Naruto among the clan children released the power of the Kyuubi outside. I know, when he was brought to me in an unconscious state, even then I felt the outgoing chakra of the fox. Apparently, the fusion of their chakras did not go quite perfectly. Maybe there are problems with printing. No, that's the point, the seal was not damaged. The fox managed to somehow bypass the protection and release too much chakra than before. Which caused the first stage, or rather, obsession. Changes in the iris of the left pupil and character. TC. One joy, Kushina won't see it all. Where did you send her this time? To Sunu, for annual treatment. She's in such a state right now that she can't even talk. CSR. This fox managed to really mess up everything for me, before sealing. Minato said, stroking his temples. Yeah, I have a lot of problems now. We'll have to go to extreme measures. Standing up from his seat and going to the window, the blond man looked at the night Konoha. It's decided. Until the conflict with the clans is settled, we will have to hide Naruto. Will your son accept it? Shikaku asked, crossing his arms. Who knows? Naruto boy is not stupid and at the same time, very unpredictable. After a short pause, Namikaze looked towards his advisor. Shikaku, tomorrow morning, gather all the clan heads. I will hold a meeting where I will settle the growing problem, okay? I hope you can handle it. Wishing good luck to his Hokage, the head of the Nara clan left the room, leaving the man in his thoughts. Naruto, what a problem you are, but I will endure, I will survive all these hardships. After all, I will not renounce the idea of making you perfect. I have more plans for you. Grinned Minato, looking at his reflection in the window, and then disappearing in a yellow flash of lightning. Naruto sat in his usual solitude, staring at the wall. After Itachi left, no more than an hour had passed and now the young man was thinking about everything he had said. If her predictions come true, then he will be stuck in this cage for a long time. It's very ironic when you mocked the beast locked in you, and now you find yourself in about the same situation. He was distracted from further thoughts by a figure appearing out of nowhere. Father? Pretending surprise, Naruto said, looking at Minato, who was standing next to his bed. Naruto. He began quietly. I think you already know. Yes, father. Itachi-san told me about everything that happened. I suppose you're in huge trouble now because of me? You don't have to worry about that, son. Sitting on the edge of the bed and sighing calmly, the man glanced at his offspring, said. Naruto, in connection with what happened, for some time you should not appear in Konoha. I don't know how long, maybe weeks, months or even years, for everything to calm down. I'll try to sort things out with the clan heads, but first I'll have to hide you from other people's eyes. I understand. The boy already knew about it, and it wouldn't be difficult to guess himself. After showing that the demon can break out at any moment, he sowed seeds of doubt on the soil. I'm sorry, Naruto. A warm hand touched the blond top of his head, stroking him slowly. Nothing, father. I support your choice. Although, it will be a little problematic to sit in this room for the next time. Naruto, that's what I wanted to talk about. Minato said, hesitating a little. You have awakened a beast that has been sitting inside you for a long time, which has not shown any signs of activity all this time. Making his voice more serious, Yondaime finally decided after a few seconds of thought. His sudden appearance was a blow to everyone, as well as to you. To prevent this from happening again, you, like the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed, need to learn how to control it. Control, yes, but considering your age, it's very dangerous. You simply can't stand his strength. Minato concluded, one by one removing the wound devices from his son's body. Then how? Naruto asked, seeing Minato freeing his arms and legs. You will undergo special training, not like in academies. We can consider this a premature entry into the ranks of the ANBU. Naruto did not answer and only obediently listened further to what Minato was saying. It will last at least 5 years, after which, you will finally begin to master the power of the fox. After giving the information said time to digest, Namikaze added something else. I know. I'm depriving you of your childhood, literally ruining your life by saying all this. But you have to understand me, not only do we have Jinchuriki, but also in other villages that will not disdain to use them as weapons. I just want Konoha to continue to flourish and become one of the greatest villages. After all that was said, there was a dead silence and Naruto, knowing that a negative answer is simply impossible here, closed his eyes and prepared to give an answer. Sooner or later, he knew that his father would take him seriously. And that, control over the fox, was important not only to the Hokage, but also to the blonde himself. Realizing that there was no other choice, the young man grinned and the usual smile returned to him. You're right, father, and I have no right to refuse. I have to become more powerful before I can control the beast. But, what will Hana say about this? Don't worry, son. I'll explain it to her, she should understand your choice. And for this we go, choose a more comfortable room and discuss everything in more detail there. Getting up from his seat and beckoning Naruto after him, Minato slowly began to head for the door. Young Namikaze got up from his seat and stomped after his father. The choice that would radically change his life caused the kid only a mocking grin. After all, the first stage to his future goal was completed and only Naruto knew how it would all end in the end. The prosperity of Konoha? Justification of the father's hopes? Well, Minato, I have completely different plans in this regard. Karen's POV morning. I can't say I'm happy about today. Yesterday's incident still haunts my mind. In broad daylight, 2 students simply disappeared. And then they let us all go home, saying that there would be no classes for the next 2 days. They didn't explain anything and even refused to answer questions, especially Irika-sensei, who was all on nerves after the disappearance of my beloved cousin in Kiba. I have to get up, I'm not used to idling for so long. Maybe everything is already fine? That's right, today we need to check on Naruto, otherwise after that incident, he clearly needs support. Finally leaving my room, and having done all the morning manipulations, I slowly went down to the first floor. The smell of fresh coffee and the barely audible voice of the parents came from the kitchen. Wow, Dad doesn't usually wake up this early, although who knows, the barrier in the form of a wooden door creaked open and, at the same moment, Mom and Dad fell silent when they saw me on the threshold. Oh, honey, good morning, a young woman with long black hair tied in a ponytail said with a smile. Yeah, Mom is already full of energy and positivity in the morning. I hope you slept well. Everything is fine. Sitting down at the table, I looked at the red-haired man with gray eyes, who was reading the morning newspaper at that time. Father, and you are somehow early today, I casually asked, looking at him carefully. Hokage is gathering all the clan heads today. And for some reason, Akiodano and I were also invited, he replied with a tired yawn. without distracting himself from reading the newspaper. Well, Hayashi, why are you so gloomy? Minato-san appreciates the Uzumaki clan very much, and that's why he always keeps up to date with the event. This council gathers all the heads of clans that live in Konoha. So, behave yourself with dignity. Mom rattled sternly, holding a wooden rolling pin in her hands and emitting a rather creepy aura. BRR. Now I understand why father tries not to argue with her. As you say, dear, said the father with a trembling voice, covering his face with a newspaper. Well, Dad, to some extent I understand you. Breakfast was held in utter silence and tranquility. Sipping hot tea, I thought about today's plans. Do you have to take him to Ichiraku, or maybe take a walk in the park? Come on, think about what you can surprise him with, Karen, in honor of what is such a dreamy smile. My mother's voice brought me out of my thoughts. Damn, it was awkward, yes, so, don't pay attention. I suppose it has to do with the son of Yondaime? My father chuckled, barely holding back his laughter. What an infection, and when did he become so perceptive? Maybe yes, maybe not. Smiling triumphantly, I finished breakfast and hurried out of the kitchen, leaving my puzzled parents in deep thought. I need to ask my cousin to teach me how to hide emotions properly. And then, it feels to me that excessive openness will come out sideways to me more than once. A crazy wind and the rays of the sun met me when I went outside my house. The Uzumaki quarter was still lit, as the representatives of our clan in Konoha did not exceed the number of 20. And despite this, we have a huge territory with all amenities. What is the personal training ground worth, where from time to time we trained with Naruto, honing our skills in various directions. Although, this yellow-haired genius, there was no need to waste time on this at all, since at the age of 9, he clearly knew how to do more than an ordinary genin or even chunning. I don't know whether to be envious or proud of such a relative. I strolled towards the house of Yondaime. The huge mansion could be seen even from the very end of the village, and when I was lucky enough to see all this grandeur and beauty up close with my own eyes, my surprise knew no bounds. And now, approaching the gate, after which I will find myself on the territories of the fourth family, I, holding my breath, accelerated my steps, when suddenly, "Stop, citizen," a man's voice was heard and a figure in a white raincoat with a porcelain mask on his face blocked my path. The ANBU fighter, whom I have seen more than once, stood motionless, emitting a crushing aura. This is. I'm Namikaze Naruto's classmate, I came to check on him, I replied, not understanding such caution. By Yondaime's orders, I'm not to let anyone in. In connection with the current situation, I urge you to leave here, the man said in an even voice, slightly easing the pressure of his ki. After a short pause, I decided to obey. These guys are not to be trifled with, and given their attire, we can assume that this is the same squad assembled by the Hokage personally. Yeah, I found out it's called. Walking carelessly through the streets of Konoha, I did nothing but cast fleeting glances at various shops, cafes and restaurants that I met as my adventures progressed. Turning into another alley, I saw a familiar head of hair near a candy store. Who do I see? Is the heir of the Nara clan itself. A soft chuckle escaped from my lips, from the reaction Shikamaru saw, who flinched slightly when he heard my voice. Yeah, it looks like it's in your blood to appear so suddenly, the brunette said with a grin, turning to me. Yes, with this guy here, we questioned the teachers until the evening yesterday and searched for 2 missing people. Although we were warned not to get involved in this matter. It's quite unusual to see you here. Is it really the temptation of sweet sweets that still defeated your laziness? Don't be silly, Karen. Wow, and where is his usual officialdom? I was just thinking of dropping by this yellow-haired fool, but I don't really want to go empty-handed. You don't have to try. Smiling maliciously, I saw the expected reaction, misunderstanding. I've already tried, but, kind Uncle Anbu told me to leave, I'll pick it up. CSR. And what should I do with it now? Lifting the bag of sweets to the level of my face, Shikamaru sighed in disappointment. I have no idea. Okay, Shikamaru, see you later. Saying goodbye, I continued to walk forward until I felt someone's hand on my shoulder. No, don't even try. Come on, Uzumaki. Not to waste the same good, literally thrusting me a load in the form of sweets, Shikamaru smiled contentedly. God, well, okay. Well, I'm supposed to be glad that I met you. We need to talk. Beckoning me to follow him, the boy stomped somewhere to an unknown place to meet. And what about, if it's not a secret, don't pretend, Karen. After all, you noticed it, too. That day, that terrifying chakra. I wasn't the only one who felt it. The brunette spoke with irritation, not clenching his fists much. His words were not any news to me. But I didn't want to accept it. Terrible chakra, bloodlust mixed with hatred. This passage has been repeated more than once in my memory. The once warm and bright aura at that moment smacked of cold and death. TC. Well, my cousin, as he was a mystery to me, remained so. The end of the POV, in a small room, a boy with bright yellow hair was lying on a bed, dressed in a clean white shirt and pants with a similar color. The light was not on, there was a dead silence, which at times collapsed due to the ticking of the clock. With his hands under his head, the young man looked at the white ceiling with a kind of half-smile. It's been a day since I was officially taken to a special isolated place, away from the village. Well, the heads of the clans think so, not suspecting that I am literally under their feet. Smiling at his thoughts, the boy did not laugh loudly. I wonder how Karen and Shikamaru are doing. I hope the fire didn't hit them. Suddenly, the iron door opened with a barely audible creak, revealing a short figure that stood at the threshold. Interrupting his thoughts and turning his head in the direction of the guest, the blonde, sighing heavily, got up from his seat. Taking a small gray bag from a wooden chest of drawers, inside of which there were various accessories, according to the type of shurikens, senbons, kunais and so on, the boy slowly headed towards the front door. As I understand it, coming out of his room to a stranger, the blonde grinned. From this day on, are you my instructor again? The young man stated, carefully examining a porcelain mask with a familiar image. You think right, stupid student, the person in the raven mask said calmly. I hope, during the year of my absence, you have not forgotten the methods of my training, Itachi snorted, unhurriedly removing her mask. Not at all. And I don't really want to walk through your illusions, pulling a weak smile, the blonde asked. As I understand it, this time there will be something different? From banal training, I think nothing will change. That's right. First, by Yondame's order, we have to check your current amount of chakra. And give an overall assessment of your strength. After that, we will start the scheduled training sessions. So that's how it is. Then, let's not waste any time. Follow me. Having said this, the girl slowly walked forward, leading the blue-eyed boy. By the way, Itachi-san. How will my capabilities be evaluated? In short, there are 5 ranks. Starting with the rank D and ending with the rank S. If the amount of your chakra is below average, you will get the rank of D, as well as with control. If it is terrible, the rank of D will be given. The C rank designates you as a simple child with a chakra, not much and not very little. The B rank is given to those who have an overall performance score above average. And then, that's it. I understand, Itachi-san, the young man said timidly, walking along a long corridor with numerous doors on the sides. Since that's the case, stopping near the wooden door, the brunette carefully opened it. Then we can start. Going inside a small room, Kunoichi saw a rather unusual device, very huge in size. You're late, Itachi. Suddenly a young girl in glasses with noticeable bags under her eyes came out of the darkness. Sighing wearily, the girl with long wheat-colored hair looked at the newcomers without interest. Sorry, Kimiko, there are some problems. Yes, I've heard it more than once, yawning and noticing, in addition to her friend, a blonde boy, the girl asked. Is this the son of Yondaime? She noted, glancing at the boy who was standing behind the brunette. He's the one. Itachi smiled a little, stepping aside a little. Naruto, this is our qualified ironin, Kimiko Satoshi. Pleased to meet you, the young man replied, bowing slightly. Wow, what a cultured boy, yawning again. Kimiko, taking a notebook out of her bosom, scribbled something in it. So, a full examination, Irionen chuckled with a thoughtful look. Itachi, let the boy undress to the waist, and then, pointing towards the device, which at that moment opened in two, now most of all its appearance resembled a kind of coffin with wires, the girl continued. And we'll lie down over there. Okay, looking in the direction of the blonde, she asked in a slightly trembling voice. Naruto, kindly take off your t-shirt and walk towards that machine. Well, okay. After a short thought, Namikaze, obeying, took off his snow-white t-shirt, under the gaze of two girls who were surprised to see the trained body of a young man. Feeling a little awkward, Naruto hurried to lie down in the indicated place and waited for further instructions. It will be a little unpleasant, but the process will not last more than 5 seconds, Kimiko warned, raising her tone, holding in her hands a kind of device with a large number of buttons. Ready? Yes, probably. Listen, Kimiko, is it safe? The brunette asked warily, carefully watching how her student is completely covered by the upper part of the device. This technology was given to us by the country of metal, praising it. Yes, and I conducted a couple of tests myself. Although there are side effects, but they are not dangerous. By pressing the red button, Irionen smiled broadly. Start scanning. The device did not emit a loud squeak and sewed brightly. From what the owner of the Sharingan closed her eyes, and the girl in round glasses covered her eyes with her hands. A couple more seconds pass and the device goes quiet, opening up again, showing a whole and unharmed blonde. Well, everything went pretty well, the girl said, standing still, while a representative of the Uchiha clan ran up to the boy. Yeah, and it hurts a little, the blonde hissed irritably, taking a sitting position. Hands and feet were still shaking, and the flow of the chakra was disrupted, causing noticeable discomfort to the boy. Yes, Naruto, I haven't seen you so pale yet. Assessing the unhealthy appearance of the student, Itachi, touching the blonde's face, felt a terrible cold. But without giving this sign, the girl smiled weakly, removing her hand. The boy needs rest. By tomorrow he will be like a cucumber, Kimiko said quietly, approaching two shinobi with a small piece of paper. Itachi, a few words. And you, Naruto, rest. Now you have a slight exhaustion, do not overexert yourself. As you say, Kimiko-san, scratching the back of his head and gradually calming down, the young man sighed in relaxation, not noticing how his teacher quietly left the room, along with the doctor. And what did you want? Leaning against the concrete wall, Itachi, casting a slightly suspicious glance in the direction of Irionen, patiently waited for an answer. That's what, putting a piece of paper with information in Kunoichi's hands, the girl asked. And how long have you been growing this monster? What are you? Just look, stupid, Kimiko grinned, adjusting her glasses. The brunette with a barely noticeable negative looked at Irionen and still decided to look at the result, and she saw the following. Subject name, Namikaze Naruto, assessment of the volume of the chakra, S+, chakra control, A. Physical characteristics, B+, spontaneous disposition, fire, wind, general pricing of all features, A+, Namikaze, Uzumaki, Naruto OJ, 2450/2450 OCH, 3000/. 3000 chakra control, advanced level, 14, 7893/9500, class, blocked, required, level 25, power, 102 dexterity, 76 speed, 65 endurance, 97 intelligence, genius spontaneous affinity, fire, 75% lightning, 15% air, 55% water, unavailable/blocked, land. Unavailable/blocked, resistance, fire, 75% wind, 40% water, 9% land, 10% lightning, 25% light, 2% darkness, 5% mental, 90% specialization, ninjutsu, UR. Advanced, taijutsu, UR. Advanced, kenjutsu, UR. Beginner, genjutsu, UR. Beginner, skills, passive, player, full access, player's body, player's mind, player's spirit, Uzumaki blood, Fuinzutsu learning speed plus 60%. Control pumping speed plus 25%, Jinchuriki Kubi, but Yoko, huge stamina, a huge amount of chakra and affinity with the element of fire, Namake's blood, control pumping speed plus 15%. You can learn your father's techniques. Active, shadow cloning, waste OCH, 10, reincarnation technique, waste OCH, 15, multiple shadow cloning, waste OCH, depends on the number of clones. Release of fire, fireball, UR.10 Trada PTS, 60 release of fire, phoenix flame, UR.8 waste of PTS, 55 release of fire, fire dragon, UR.7 waste of points, 65 attitude, Namake's Minato, indifference/pride, Namake's, Uzumaki, Kushina, maternal love Namake's, Uzumaki, Hana. Sisterly love/tenderness/pity/guilt/sympathy Uchiha Itachi, interest/sympathy. Uzumaki Karen, sympathy Nara Shikamaru, interest/friendliness, Naruto, if you are not ready, we can postpone it, the dark-haired Kunoichi said with excitement in her voice, going down the stairs and leading the blonde to, don't worry, Itachi-san. After all, until I get through this, our training will not go far. The boy calmly replied, looking at the teacher's back. Over the past month, the boy, although he was subjected to strong physical and mental stress, in the possession of ninjutsu, they were at an impasse. No one was in a hurry to teach him high-ranking techniques yet, fearing the destructive chakra of Kyubi and his Jinchuriki himself, who caused noticeable discomfort to many ANBU fighters when he appeared. Only Uchiha and a couple of shinobi were not afraid of the son of Yondaime. You are not stubborn. The girl sighed resignedly, glancing at the boy out of the corner of her eye. But, I say in advance. In no case, do not ask unnecessary questions, and do what I say. Understood, whatever you say, sensei. The youth smiled weakly, continuing to walk. After a short adventure, the couple reached the huge wooden doors. With a creak, they opened, revealing a long, vast corridor, with bars on the sides. A specially designated prison, where they keep dangerous criminals and various personalities who have done a lot of bad things. After informing the younger Namakes, she took a step forward, beckoning the student to follow her. What should I do? The blond man asked. His face reflected a faint surprise mixed with quiet calmness. To kill. You will be their executioner. Let's start with him. The girl said coldly, stopping near one of the bars, behind which a middle-aged man was lying, very in a terrible state. Seeing him, Naruto was disgusted. The man smelled like a corpse, and his appearance left much to be desired. The absence of one eye and a hanging jaw clearly indicated that the man either experienced an explosive scroll close to himself, or, unsuccessfully fell on his face. I got it. Said the blonde, after a short silence. Naruto, we are shinobi, killing is a common thing for us. Handing the keys to the boy, the brunette continued. And you have to understand that. Namakes only nodded and opened the cage. The prisoner did not even move, continuing to lie on the bare ground, emitting painful wheezes and drooling from his mouth. Jinchuriki pulled the kunai out of his bosom and approached the man. His eyes were as dead as a fish's. There was nothing there, emptiness. Gripping the weapon tightly, the boy was about to cut the throat of the criminal, but Itachi suddenly stopped him. Is something wrong? Blue, I'd asked, not understanding the teacher's actions. No weapons, Naruto. Taking the kunai from the young man's hands, Kunoichi looked at him expectantly. The blond man sighed heavily and looked at his victim again. Hikari Teoj, 125/1800 OCH, 0 out of 800, so he's almost dead. Just pull yourself together and do it, mentally throwing to himself. The young man abruptly grabbed the thin neck with his own hands and squeezed it. Kyuubi's chakra, after partially merging with the boy's chakra, strengthened his physical capabilities several times, and the crunch that was heard after a few seconds proved this. Killed by shinobi gained plus 500 experience. Naruto looked at the man. His gray, lifeless eyes, in which absolutely nothing was visible, for some reason caused the boy a feeling of some regret. His hands were shaking, and the boy's breathing became feverish, because killing someone with his own hands was far from easy. Having calmed the trembling and more or less regained his composure, the blonde felt someone's warm hand light on his shoulder. Why are you trembling? Itachi's voice echoed in the cage, making Namake's smile weakly. I killed a man. He answered briefly, then added. But I do not know why my hands are shaking. I don't know who he is or what he did. That's just, you cannot say. The brunette said with a slight smile, removing her hands. Come on, you'll get used to it soon. I take your word for it. Naruto muttered, entering the next cage. This time, he will have to end the life of a young girl who looked in his direction with a degree of fear and panic. Go ahead. Itachi ordered, seeing how the eyes of the enemy Kunoichi widened, and then, a death rattle was heard. And what is required of me, Itachi-san? Naruto asked with interest, feeling not too comfortable with a blindfold. The darkness has never attracted the boy, afraid to stay there forever and wander in its boundless edges. There will come a time when your eyes will become useless and you will have to rely only on hearing. Your skills in taijutsu, although they exceed the capabilities of most genins, it's still not enough. I understand, but why did you choose the forest for this? There is the greatest concentration of various noise. And in order to track my movement, you will have to strain all your 5 senses. So, do your best. Ruffling the golden hair of the youngster, Itachi grinned and disappeared into Shunshin. Easy to say. Naruto muttered, breathing freely. The sounds you say, let's see what happens. The younger Namakes stood motionless in place, trying to listen to any rustle that he heard. The howling of the wind, the falling of leaves, the chirping of birds, all this was terribly distracting and did not allow you to concentrate normally. A sudden blow in the back, and then, a direct collision with his face on the ground, forced the young man to reflexively get to his feet and, on pure instincts, clumsily fend off single blows from a nimble Kunoichi. Left, top, right, no. The fist that flew into the solar plexus once again threw the boy several meters away. Too fast. I don't have time. The blond man croaked, sighing heavily. Although his senses were sharpened, due to the influence of the Kyuubi chakra, Uchiha easily deceived his instincts, raining down a hail of blows on him. You don't know where from. Snorting, Naruto once again assumed a standing position, began to disperse the chakra throughout his body, sharpening his feeling several more times. Sideways, flashed through his mind, and at the last moment the boy manages to dodge the teacher's blow by doing a couple of backflips. Not bad. The dark-haired girl whispered, disappearing into Shunshin again. Moving through the trees and creating additional sources of sound, throwing small pebbles on the ground, Itachi, carefully watching the student, jerked to him from behind. Namakes felt, although no, rather had a premonition, along the trajectory along which she would strike, but knowing one thing, and dodging, is completely different. As a result, after 10 minutes of being beaten by Uchiha, the blonde collapsed to the ground, barely holding himself up. Well, we'll have to work on this case. Once near the boy's body, Kunoichi carefully lifted the young man into her arms, jumped onto the nearest tree, not paying attention to the rapidly healing wounds of the blonde, and in the meantime, a familiar place. Naruto said, looking around a couple of times. It's been a long time, Kyubi. The blond man grinned, seeing in front of him a huge cage and a seal hanging in place of the lock. You again, little man. An angry growl was the answer. What are you doing here, brat? Don't worry, I'm not too happy to see your furry face either. After letting out a mocking laugh, Namikaze heard the vicious growl of the beast. Well, don't get mad. I'm here temporarily. Apparently being a punching bag has had a bad effect on my health. Scratching the back of his head, the boy sat down on the wet floor, looking into the vertical pupils of the fox demon. By the way, Kyubi, it seems to me, or have you become a little smaller? It's none of your business, a living dead man. You've come up with a good nickname. The boy said with a slight smile. A ball of wool, but the fox did not react to this in any way, only growled. My Jinchuriki is a rotten soul that has not known peace. The beast began slowly, clacking his teeth. Do you think such a pathetic insult can somehow hurt me? An attempt is not torture, a red-eyed old man. The young man smirked, looking at the demon complacently. Your chakra, that seal that father put on, sucks out a significant part of your strength, right, damn people? Kyubi growled, scratching the iron floor with his sharp claws. Break the seal, and I will take revenge on those who do this. The fox growled. Again for the old, changed the plate already. I'll kill you, I'll kill everyone. Blah, 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 no wonder everyone hates you. A clot of woolly negativity. Shut up, carrion, you're the last person I want to hear this from. Hiding behind his tails, the fox went back into the darkness, finally saying. Get out, and how did that mom get along with you? The blond man said before disappearing, disintegrating into small particles of light. That's the end of it.